Westwood One Sports presents to you the most unique show in sports.
I'm going to say something now that some may take as a hot take, and I don't really care because I know that I'm right.
A show so staggeringly awesome and unapologetically original, you won't know what hit you.
Do you ever just get down on your knees and thank God that you know me and have access to my dementia?
Featuring the man himself, Nick Kostos.
For anyone else says, oh, he's exaggerating, he's prisoner of the moment. First off, shut up. This is the National Football League. This is not the Big 12. It's not Pop Warner. An absolute disgrace. An atrocity. An affront. One of the most disgraceful performances that I have ever seen in 35 years watching National Football League football.
This is You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
What's up, everybody? Happy and merry, phenomenal Football Friday to you and yours. This is You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports, as we bring you the fastest show in all of sports. The show presented today and always by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. And on this phenomenal Football Friday, heading into Wild Card Weekend in the National Football League, heading into Indiana and Oregon tonight in the Peach Bowl, the world of sports is alive. And we are going to get to all of it, including why Washington quarterback, not Washington Commanders quarterback, Washington Huskies quarterback, DeMond Williams is the modern-day George Costanza. And why everyone out there listening and watching, I think maybe not everybody, but a lot of people, as it concerns this particular story, everybody's got to chill out a little bit here. Just as Aaron Rodgers famously said, RELAX, everybody take a chill pill. We'll talk about DeMond Williams, why he's the modern-day Costanza, and I will tell you, dear listener, and you, dear viewer, let's just chill as it regards this story. I will also give you, dear listener, and you, dear viewer, my finalized bets for Super Wild Card Weekend. They still call it that? Super Wild Card Weekend with the expanded NFL postseason? I have no idea. I like it. Super Wild Card Weekend. Side and total bets for all 5 games coming up this weekend. We will save the Texans and Steelers in-depth analysis for Monday's show. That's the Monday night game. I like the Steelers a lot. Talked about it earlier in the week. Plus 3.5. It's 3 now. Still like it. So there you go. That'll be the bet for Monday night. But the analysis of that game will come up on Monday. The finalized betting card from yours truly for all the games this weekend in the final hour of today's show. And how about this? If we're going to view things as we do here on You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, as we do on Westwood One Sports, if we view everything through the prism of sports, not since Jeremy Lin hit the scene in New York City in 2012 for Linsanity, has there been a debut quite like Kenny Henderson yesterday in Kenny's Corner. Our excellent engineer here on You Better You Bet. I got notes from listeners, Instagram messages from listeners who loved Kenny Henderson and loved Kenny's Corner. Some are calling it Kensanity. Those people are stupid. It's a terrible word to describe it. Kenny's Corner is coming up later this hour on this phenomenal Football Friday. And on this phenomenal Football Friday, I just got a yes. So our friend John Jastrzemski just texted me to confirm the time of his interview. Yes, 3 tremendous guests on the show today. Our buddy John Jastrzemski from The Ringer. I love JJ. JJ, hashtag one of us. JJ loves betting on games. JJ, lifelong fan of the Miami Dolphins. We'll talk with JJ about the Dolphins firing Mike McDaniel, what's going to happen with John Harbaugh, and who he's betting tonight with Indiana and Oregon. He had the Hurricanes last night. Good for him. I had Ole Miss. We'll get to that game coming up in a moment. So JJ will join us for all the bets for this weekend, and he'll talk Dolphins at 10 a.m. Eastern. At 10:35 a.m. Eastern time next hour, former NFL general manager Tom Telesco, who's now a host on Sirius XM NFL Radio, where I started my post-college career. Tom Telesco will join us on the show to talk Super Wild Card Weekend and also the comings and goings on the coaching carousel and the GM carousel in the world of the National Football League. And I'm going to ask Tom Telesco, who's been the GM of 2 teams and has interviewed coaches to hire them, what is that like? I'm fascinated by that answer. I'm guessing that you, our listeners and viewers, will be as well. And in the final hour of the show, he's back. Pro Sports Bettor, our friend, Rob Pizzola, with all of Rob's bets for Super Wild Card Weekend in the National Football League. I spent some time this morning on BetMGM looking at the NBA card for tonight, and I got to tell you, 2-0 last night for me, betting hoops. We'll forget about the loss in football. We'll get to that in a second. 2-0 in hoops last night with the Cavaliers and Northwestern against Michigan State. I love the NBA card tonight. Like, ton of games on a Friday night. I will give you all my NBA bets to wrap up the show in the final hour, in the Power Hour. The phone number, 310-840-4910, 310-840-4910. And as a reminder, this is the last day, today, Friday, January 9th, that you, the listener, you, the viewer, can watch the show on youtube.com/@the BetMGM Network. Starting Monday, the sole home on YouTube of this show will be youtube.com/@the Kostos. TheKostos. So I would suggest migrating over there sooner rather than later. Subscribe to the page, like and comment, helps the algorithm, helps me. I'm going to interact with you in the show chat. youtube.com/@the Kostos. TheKostos. But we officially begin the phenomenal Football Friday edition of You Better You Bet with the Fiesta Bowl and this piece of sound, Kenny Henderson, from back in the day in WWE.
Stand back. There's a hurricane coming through.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I love professional wrestling, and I couldn't help myself this morning thinking about the Miami Hurricanes and Shane Helms coming into my head. Stand back, everybody. There's a hurricane coming through. As last night, in the Fiesta Bowl, the University of Miami exorcising the demons of Fiesta Bowl past. 2003, to be exact. Losing the national championship game to Craig Krenzel, Maurice Clarett, Jim Tressel, the Vest, and Ohio State. Exorcising those demons by defeating Ole Miss in an absolute thriller. 31-27 on a late rush, and I'm talking late, 18 seconds to play, on a late rushing touchdown from Carson Beck. As Miami advances to the national championship game, what a sentence. Miami, left for dead after losing earlier in the year to Louisville and to SMU. Miami advances to the national championship game next Monday night in their own stadium. Absolutely unreal. Now I'm going to break down the game and tell you about storylines that I loved coming out of it, but I need to say this. Just for all my fellow sports bettors out there, I have a big-time bettor's lament, which means I'm going to bitch and moan and I'm going to complain right now, just for a couple seconds. You know, it's football, right? Yeah, so you can see these. Sometimes you can just see it coming, man. Where you know your bet's coming down to a 2-point conversion being made or missed. And this is kind of the beauty and kind of the insanity of betting on sports, right? Ole Miss takes the lead on the late touchdown, and anyone that bet Ole Miss is rooting for the 2-point conversion to not be converted, right? You don't want Ole Miss to go up to take a 3-point lead, because then Miami needs to score, right? Score a touchdown to win the game, and then maybe the game goes to overtime. But if Ole Miss doesn't get the 2-point conversion and they're up by 1, Miami can win with the field goal. Miami wins by 2, and I win my bet on Ole Miss plus 3.5. Alas, not meant to be. a loser for yours truly on Ole Miss. Hashtag, what can you do? Now, as sports fans, we all need to take a second and be thankful and be grateful because we have been truly blessed in the last 7 days with primetime football games. Ole Miss, Georgia. Remember that game? Ridiculous. We're going to give Ole Miss their flowers in a little bit here. The Steelers and the Ravens on Sunday night that got John Harbaugh fired and sent the Steelers to the playoffs as the AFC North champion. And then last night, Ole Miss and Miami. This game last night was an absolute thriller. Breathtaking. The fourth quarter with 4 lead changes. This felt like Marvin Hagler and Hitman Hearns trading body blows. Just heavyweights, middle, whatever, in the ring, absolutely slugging it out. Where you're like, oh my God, who's got this guy? Now it's Miami. Now it's Ole Miss. Who's got the advantage here? We got a doink. And I'm not talking clown. We got dumb penalties. We even had a Hail Mary at the end that could have decided the game, where some people think it was DPI, some people think it was OPI. I happen to think it was just interference in general. You can't throw a flag in that spot. I understand the no call from the officials. This game had it all, and I absolutely loved it. So Miami wins 31-27. And if you didn't watch the game last night, shame on you. How can you say you're a sports fan if you didn't watch this game? But if you didn't, and you look this morning, and you look at the box score, and you see final score, 31-27, and you hear me, Nick Kostos, You Better You Bet, Westwood One Sports, Phenomenal Football Friday, presented by BetMGM. You hear me talk about it. You hear what I just said. 4 lead changes in the fourth quarter. A Hail Mary on the game's final play that could have potentially decided it. You might think that this was a close game. And technically, it was. Ole Miss could have won on the final play of the game. But we can call a spade, and we can be honest here on You Better You Bet. And I bet Ole Miss. I bet Ole Miss in the game. Miami should have won this game by 20. Like, Miami was the far superior team. Miami in this game dropped about 75 interceptions and 84 pick sixes. And I know that doesn't make mathematical sense. But if you watch the game, you know that what I'm saying is absolutely accurate. Miami was way better than Ole Miss in this game. Ole Miss had a couple splash plays, the Lacey 73-yard touchdown run in the first half. Miami had brain-dead penalties, 10 penalties for 74 yards, and really almost gifted this one to Ole Miss. And if Miami had lost this game, and they didn't, right? They did not lose. But if Miami had lost this game, I don't think it would be as bad for Hurricanes fans and Hurricanes alums as the 03 national title game. I'm not going to insinuate that. It would not be as bad as that. But it would be up there. Because, like, Ole Miss loses, and it sucks for Ole Miss, and it sucks for the players, and it sucks for the coaches, and it sucks for the students, and it sucks for the alums, and it sucks for the fans. I think if you're Ole Miss, you know that Miami was the better team. Like, deep down in your... And I bet Ole Miss. Deep down, you know it. If Miami lost last night with the way the game went and lose an opportunity to play for the national championship in their home stadium, I don't know how you recover from that. That's how much better I felt like as an Ole Miss bettor Miami was in the game last night. And look, we said this over the last couple days. I'm handicapping the game. I'm giving you my bet on Ole Miss plus the points. When you give a quarterback like Trinidad Chambliss, and we're going to talk a lot about Trinidad Chambliss coming up later in this hour, you give him that many bites at the apple like Miami did, he's going to eat that son of a bitch. And you're going to be in big trouble. Now, there's an acronym, and I'm not going to spell out because I like my job. FAFO. I think most people know what that means. If not, you can look it up, and don't get mad at me. It's not that terrible, but there is a curse word in there. Miami very nearly FAFO'd last night as it concerns this game with Ole Miss. But Miami saved at the end by Carson Beck. And I think, and I'm curious if you, the listener, you, the viewer, you agree. Maybe you disagree. Let me know in the YouTube chat. YouTube.com/@thekostos. We're also on the BetMGM Network YouTube page, 310-840-4910. My favorite storyline around this game, by far, and it really hit me in the waning moments, like even before 000's on the clock and the game is final, centers around Carson Beck and Miami head coach Mario Cristobal. I'm 42 years old. And even if you're not as old, if you're older than me, you'll certainly get this. You don't even have to be as old as me. Not that I'm old, but you don't have to be in your 40s to understand this if you're a big sports fan, right? Because you know your history. You follow college football. You love this stuff, right? When I was growing up, Miami was the cool bad guy. The cool heel. Like in pro wrestling, the heel that you root for. The anti-hero. The bad boys. Think back, and it is a rough characterization looking back at it in context, but think about the way that the Miami Notre Dame legendary game in the late 80s was referred to. Catholics versus convicts. Like, think about that. Like, this is how Miami, right, wrong, or indifferent, and wrong is probably the answer there, right? Not fair. Look, that's a product of the time. Catholics versus convicts. And think about, and I mean this sincerely what I'm going to say, because this sounds like I'm leading this into a joke, but I'm not. Like Michael Irvin and Ray Lewis are on the sideline. They are very prevalent. They are very visible for the Miami program. And this is not to bring like real life legal stuff. That's not what this is. But just that those two guys from Miami kind of embodied this kind of like bad boy thing, right? They were the cool villains. They were the bad guys who thumped their chest and celebrated in your face. And part of you didn't like it, but part of you thought that they were ridiculously cool. And I think we all have experienced that in life, whether it's in wrestling, whether it's in sports, whether it's in your personal life. That's what Miami was when I was a kid and I was growing up. And now, today, in 2026, Miami has somehow transformed into the lovable underdog. They're the baby faces now. How the hell did this happen? Like, think about that. What a transformation this is. Where Miami is the team that you would put on the pedestal as the bad boys of college football, the cool villains. And now they are absolutely the lovable underdog in the world of college football. Left for dead after the losses to Louisville and SMU, and then did everything right from there to get to the playoff. Blow out Syracuse, blow out NC State, blow out Virginia Tech, blow out Pitt. They didn't slip up. They didn't win a game by 3 points. They did what they needed to do. They did it the right way. They didn't showboat. And they got to the college football playoff. Amazing defensive effort in College Station against A&M. Win that game 10-3. Upset Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl and get a measure of revenge for the 03 Fiesta Bowl. And now last night, beat Ole Miss to advance to the national championship game. Unbelievable. And Mario Cristobal at the center of this. And do I think Mario Cristobal is a great in-game coach? No. And I don't know how anyone can say that. But it almost doesn't matter at this point. Because he's got Miami playing for a national championship. So I may be talking out of both sides of my mouth there, but I think both things can be true. You can both give him a ton of credit and acknowledge that he's not a great in-game coach. But bottom line, you'll take the in-game foibles for a chance to play for the national championship in your home stadium. And he is a babyface, to use wrestling parlance, where after the game, first thing he says, and this doesn't have to be, I'm not stumping for religion here, glory to the man upstairs. He sounds like Hulk Hogan in the 80s. Say your prayers and take your vitamins. How can you not like, you don't have to like Miami, how can you not respect Mario Cristobal? And then there's Carson Beck. And this is the one that really struck me. Last year at Georgia, I found, and maybe you disagree, I found Carson Beck to not be particularly likable. I don't know him personally. I don't dislike him personally at all. But just saying, did anyone really like Carson Beck? He's the social media quarterback, the Lamborghini, the influencer girlfriend, which you can have all of that, but you better perform when it matters. And he didn't. And I know that he's won a million games, but let's be real with how it went to Georgia. Losing to Bama. Gets hurt in the SEC championship game. Gunnar Stockton's got to come in. And the pregame feature that ESPN ran with Carson Beck prior to the game last night, where he's talking about he's in such a dark place following the injury and the way that the season ended for him and the way the season ended for Georgia, and he leaves to go play at the University of Miami. Carson Beck wins this game last night with the rushing touchdown, and he is on one knee. He can't even bear to watch the Hail Mary at the end because he's so overcome with emotion. And he says, and we'll play the sound for you in a little bit, that this is the greatest moment of his life with a tear in his eye. This is the most surprising babyface turn since Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13, passing out in the sharpshooter to Bret the Hitman Hart. It's unbelievable. The Miami Hurricanes are baby faces. The lovable underdog. And it is awesome for college football. Tremendous for college football. And what a game it was last night, heading into the football weekend. We'll take a quick break, but we are just getting started here on this phenomenal Football Friday. On the other side, we'll talk about Ole Miss. We'll give Ole Miss their flowers. I'm going to tell you my opinion on Trinidad Chambliss and what he should do now that Ole Miss's season is over. And should the college football playoff expand? What the hell do you think? You better you bet. Nick Kostos, Westwood One Sports.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports.
You gave the Bulls a C- in your grade. Why are you being so nice to this disaster of an organization and this farce of a front office? F-, if there is anything below an F-, that should be the grade for the Chicago Bulls in this front office. This Bulls team, this Bulls organization, this Bulls front office, and God, I hope we're on 670 the score right now. This Bulls front office is an absolute joke. Everything that they've done with this organization since they ruined Derrick Rose and his knees has been absolute garbage. They refuse to build. They refuse to go out and get superstars. They've got a GM who says that they don't need superstars on their team to win. And in this league, you absolutely need superstars to win. And this is the team that they run out back and back and back. Well, we went to the play-in game and we lost to the Heat, and we went to the play-in game and we lost to the Hawks. It's the same damn thing every year. They're good enough with being in ninth place to get to the damn play-in game and then lose to either Miami or Atlanta, who just traded Trae Young to the Washington Wizards. This is what this Bulls organization is. Anything higher than an F-, and you're out of your mind.
Three receivers bunch to the left. Beck is looking that way. And still looking. Takes off running. Carson Beck with his legs. Puts Miami on top. What a drive.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
Miami, I love that. Ken Sanity Lives with Kenny Henderson, our engineer, playing the old Stone Cold Steve Austin music back from break. Carson Beck, I said it in the first segment. This is the most surprising babyface turn since Stone Cold Steve Austin and the double turn at WrestleMania 13 with him and Bret Hart. Bret Hart turns heel, Austin turns face, and they were off to the races. Carson Beck off to the races last night as the Red Sea parts for him, wide open into the end zone to give Miami the lead. And you have this now with Miami as the last team in the college football playoff with a coach that a lot of people don't believe in, including me, to be fair, as far as being like a big game head coach. He's proven me wrong. And a quarterback that a lot of people don't like. And here they are, playing for a national championship next Monday night in their home stadium. And just to drive the Carson Beck point home, where he has kind of, like, overnight basically has turned into this lovable babyface, the lovable underdog. Listen to this post-game sound, and this is excellent stuff from ESPN and Carson Beck. Kenny, take it away.
What did you say to your offense right before you drove it down for the win?
I told them we got 3 minutes for the rest of our life, bro. Don't else matter. Sorry. I don't mean to cuss. Emotions are rolling, but nothing else matters. We got 3 minutes to go do this, man. I mean, everything we've worked for since January, everything we've been through, all the adversity that we faced, all comes down to 3 minutes in the semifinals, and shoot, we're able to drive it down and finish it.
I love it. Love it from Carson Beck. He would say, it was the best moment of my life when I ran in for that rushing touchdown. And he like high stepped into the end zone because there's no one around him, right? Just walks into the end zone unimpeded. And Holly Rowe on ESPN is so good. Captures the emotion of the moment, asks the right questions, and Beck is just sensational. How do you not absolutely love it? So great stuff from Miami to win and advance to the Natty. Now, we have to talk about Ole Miss. And I will speak on behalf of all sports fans right now. And if you don't, I think the only person that doesn't feel this way is probably Lane Kiffin. We'll play some Lane Kiffin sound at the end of the hour in Kenny's Corner that if you have not heard it, like it might actually make you queasy to hear the sound that we're going to play. Now, Lane Kiffin can send out his tweets and be like, oh, a great season by Ole Miss. My heart is broken. Okay, guy. I feel like Lane might be the only one that doesn't think this. I will speak on behalf of all sports fans and say to Ole Miss, thank you. What an unbelievable run by the Rebels. Greatest season in school history. And I think back to November, around Thanksgiving, like Egg Bowl, Mississippi versus Mississippi State. Doesn't that feel like it was years ago? Heading into Black Friday, Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Is Lane going to leave? Is Lane going to stay? If he leaves, is he going to coach the rest of the season? How's this going to go? And he leaves. And it's a cluster you know what. And I remember thinking and saying on the air, is the committee going to bone Ole Miss here and keep Ole Miss out of the playoff potentially if Lane leaves? Kind of doing what happened to Florida State when Jordan Travis got hurt, and the committee didn't do it. And honestly, I don't know how anyone can look at what the committee did, and we can criticize the committee, and that the rankings television show is a sham, even though it's entertaining. You're really going to criticize the committee? The only thing you could maybe criticize the committee for, and you can't, because you can't leave the SEC runner-up out of the playoff, is putting Alabama in over Notre Dame. And you can't even do that. You can't even do that. And to anyone who wants to say, well, the playoff means the regular season doesn't matter, tell that to Notre Dame. Lost to Miami, lost to A&M, didn't make the playoff as a result. And maybe if Notre Dame doesn't lose one of those games, and I don't want to turn this into a Notre Dame bash session, that's not what this is. Maybe Notre Dame's playing for the national championship instead of Miami. Maybe that's the case. But Ole Miss gets into the playoff with Pete Golding and Joe Judge, and I'm a Giants fan, And Joe Judge is the absolute worst as far as I'm concerned. And great, you beat Tulane in the opener. You're supposed to beat Tulane. And what followed from there is the stuff that like Disney movies are made of. Two absolute classics. Last week in the Sugar Bowl, beating Georgia, and last night, Thursday night, against Miami. You entertained us. You captivated us. You made me money last week, maybe not so much last night. But to Ole Miss, on behalf of me and all sports fans, thank you guys, because this was awesome. Happy to have been a part of this ride. Loved watching this. I'm sorry that the season came to an early end. I did bet Ole Miss last night, but man, that is good stuff. And the star for Ole Miss throughout this is obviously quarterback Trinidad Chambliss. Gold all on his watch, gold all on his ring, gold all on his chain. Don't believe him, just watch. I had that out of order. You get the point. So I'll say this about Trinidad Chambliss. And I believe we have the Danny Cannell sound, right, guys? I think you guys typed that to me during the break. So we have here, yesterday on the show, former NFL and college football quarterback, CBS Sports college football analyst, Danny Cannell, my friend from back in the day. And he said that on the air, so that's not a humble, it's a statement of fact. Danny Cannell said this about Trinidad Chambliss's NFL prospects. Kenny, please play the sound.
You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me a little bit of a bigger Kyler Murray. Don't see him going in the first round because of the lack of success that even Cam Ward had last year, like shorter, more athletic quarterbacks have had. So I think he could drop to the second or even the third.
Now, I obviously respect Danny, and I'm like friends with Danny, and I love that he comes on the show. And I love that. He's awesome, right? And he's forgotten more about that. This is going to be me setting up to be like, well, actually, I know better than he does. And like, I don't. He played at Florida State for Bobby Bowden. He played in the NFL. He started a playoff game in the NFL. But look, I'm going to give you my opinion as someone that's been watching sports my entire life. And I can be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm curious if you're watching the show on YouTube, watching on Twitch, listening right now, 310-840-4910. Do you agree or disagree with what I'm going to say? I think Danny's wrong. And I respect Danny. I'm not trashing Danny when I say that. I said it basically to him in the interview yesterday. How can you not watch Trinidad Chambliss and think this guy's a first-round pick? Now, I'm not saying he's going to be better than Fernando Mendoza or better than Dante Moore. You bet on this Friday. Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports. I'm not saying that. But, I mean, you're an NFL general manager. Would you rather have Ty Simpson than Trinidad Chambliss? Come on. Like, get serious. Trinidad Chambliss is trying to get an extra year of eligibility to come back to Ole Miss, and I'm sure they will pay him handsomely to come back. If I'm advising Trinidad Chambliss, and I'm not, and nor should he ask me for advice, candidly, but I'm going to give it because I've got the microphone here, and this is what I think. Go to the NFL. Maybe I'm wrong, and he is a third-round pick. But, like, I'm being serious right now. We all watched the last 2 weeks. Did he look like a third-round pick to you? A second-round pick? No way. There's a bigger Kyler Murray went first overall. I'm not saying Trinidad Chambliss should go first overall, but I think he a first-round pick. I don't know why he would come back to college for another year. Like, doesn't matter to me one way or another. Like, goes to the NFL, stays at Ole Miss. We're going to be talking about him next fall no matter what. So, like, it doesn't impact me at all. Just saying. Like, probably go to the NFL. That would be my suggestion for him. So, thank you to Trinidad Chambliss, Pete Golding, and honestly, thanks to Lane Kiffin, because you made this story way spicier. Last note here on last night's game and where we've kind of arrived at a college football playoff. If we were under the old format, because a lot of people think that 12 teams is too many. And you're welcome to your opinion. I disagree with it, but you're welcome to that opinion, right? If we were under the old format, Miami and Ole Miss wouldn't be in the playoff. Oregon wouldn't be in the playoff. This is, and I said this last Friday following the quarterfinal round, this feels like college basketball. Last team in and Miami's the 10, and obviously there was an 11 and a 12 that are group of 5 teams. We'll talk about that in a second. That team's playing for a national championship. How do you not like this? Like, in what world is this bad for college football, or more, who cares about the sport? In what way is it bad for me or for you that this is what's happening? That we get Miami and Ole Miss in the semifinal. How is that bad? On the contrary, it's awesome. I believe The Miz would say, it's awesome. I came to play. Sorry. Give me 16 teams. Get rid of the group of 5. Give the group of 5 their own playoff, and we'll bet on it, and it'll be so much fun. I don't need to see Boise State or James Madison or Tulane. I'm sorry. I don't need to see it. Get them out. I don't give Notre Dame an automatic bid every year. I don't care. Give me more teams. This is the best. This is why we love the NCAA tournament, because you can get a Final Four like this. And we got it this year in college football. And if you disliked it, I mean, I guess there are people that don't like puppies and pizza. Whatever floats your boat. In a couple hours, final hour, power hour of the show, we'll delve into Indiana, Oregon. Just to give an updated side and total of the game. Indiana, 3.5, 48.5 the total. So the over's getting bet, and it looks like we've settled here at Indiana, a 3.5 point favorite. I'm going to bet Oregon in the game, and I'll give you the handicap at the end, why I like Oregon. I'll give you a thought on the total as well. If Indiana wins, how about this? We'll do the other one first. If Oregon wins, we get the Cristobal. Mario Cristobal against Oregon. I can't even believe that this is a possibility for the national championship, that the game would revolve around Mario Cristobal. What a sentence. And if it's Indiana, we would talk about it, right? And how can Miami win the game? Indiana would be favored. I'll just say, Curt Cignetti versus Mario Cristobal in an in-game coaching scenario kind of feels like Mo Green against Fredo Corleone in Las Vegas. I'll just say that. John Jastrzemski will join us next hour here on the show. Former NFL General Manager Tom Telesco next hour on the show. Pro Sports Bettor Rob Pizzola in the final hour, power hour. But look, you the listener, you the viewer, you have demanded that he returns. And on the other side, he does. Ken Sanity lives. We will take a trip to Kenny's Corner here on Westwood One Sports.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos and the crew. Presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Speaking of our show sponsor, BetMGM, the college football playoff semifinals are here. Obviously started last night. And whether you're riding on an upset or hoping the favorite dominates, betting with a boost makes every playoff moment even more memorable. Activate today's boost token on any college football playoff game. That would be Indiana, Oregon for tonight. And you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. So again, if you're out there listening or watching the show right now, wherever you are in this great country, great world of ours, and you want to bet Indiana, Oregon tonight, whether you're a casual bettor, an experienced bettor, you want to throw a couple bucks down, if you're going to bet this game, I'm guessing you are as well, even if you're not like a huge bettor. It's a semifinal, right? A couple bucks down on the game. Or don't. Do whatever you want. Why wouldn't you do it at BetMGM? You have a boost token, right? You'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins at BetMGM. So download the BetMGM app. Visit BetMGM.com so you can make it legendary. And as always, please gamble responsibly. John Jastrzemski will join us to start next hour. Can't wait to talk to my friend JJ from The Ringer. And for everyone that has commented on YouTube, youtube.com/@thekostos, and for the final day on youtube.com/@thebetmgm network. I know we usually do the comments throughout the show, just the way this worked out today. I am going to read a ton of comments next hour on the show, but look, we got the real star of the show is our friend Kenny Henderson, and I think Kenny's starting to get a big head. I'm kidding. Kenny's with us now for the second edition of Kenny's Corner. Kenny, how does it feel after your star-making turn yesterday on You Better You Bet?
I wouldn't call it that. I'm not reading my press clippings yet.
Okay, well, I will.
Or ever.
Well, Kenny is on the show and has just started on the show. Kenny, I hope that you remain with us for a long time. That is my hope. I think you will start to read your press clippings at some point. It happens to the best of us, including me, throughout the years. So let's get it started, my friend. Stunned like my daddy, and let's set up the audio here. Bill will join us. Tyler will join us to discuss. Now it's Friday.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. So we're going to stay with the Ole Miss-Miami game. Big win for Miami last night. Big moment for Carson Beck. But a clip surfaced online last night that we have to play the audio for. Many people doubted Carson Beck, even coming into this game, as he not the reason that they got to this point, but part of it, including none other than former Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin. This is what Lane had to say on the Pivot podcast this offseason with Ryan Clark and Channing Crowder.
Miami gave him $4.3 million.
That's what the evaluation says. Hey,
do they watch this game against us?
You don't have to be great, coach.
Like, I gotta be honest. People like Lane Kiffin need to exist, and Bill and Tyler are with us for people that are watching the show, right? Like, Bill, people like Lane Kiffin need to exist in life and in sports. And I'm not saying he's like a terror. I have no idea if he's a bad guy. But, like, he's such a jerk, right? Like, why say, like, you can think it, like, why say that, though? Why say it?
Yeah, there's nothing good that can come from saying something like that, especially he's an active coach. He's not an analyst for a television. He's an active college coach. He's saying that about another team's player, not even a professional athlete. Like, it's remarkable that Lane Kiffin exists. This has been happening with Lane since the Al Davis press conference 15 years ago. If you hire Lane Kiffin, this is just who you're getting.
That press conference, by the way, that's like 20 years ago at this point. Close to 20 years ago, that press conference where Al Davis fires Lane Kiffin with a projector, like you're in European history class, sophomore year of high school, taking notes. Like, maybe the greatest, but we have to do like a retrospective at some point on that press conference. I remember where I was at Sirius XM when that press conference happened. Tyler, any thoughts on the Lane Kiffin audio? Then we'll get to the next piece.
This whole, Lane Kiffin, he's, slowly, if you follow him on Twitter and see what he does, becoming, a 20-year-old college student. It's very strange. I don't know what's really going on with his Twitter. And his fact that he's calling Carson Beck, I know this is early in the season. This guy doesn't even have a quarterback right now. I'm out on Lane Kiffin. He was fun for a little bit. I feel like he's kind of overstayed his welcome a little bit. I'm not going to lie. And all this stuff he did this year, I was, out on. So, yeah, I've turned on Lane Kiffin. Used to love him. Now I hate him.
Well, I got to, this is why and I'm being sincere, right? I don't really like him either. But you need people like Lane Kiffin. Because LSU now, and I think the first game on the SEC schedule for those two teams is LSU at Ole Miss next year. You need villains in sports. And now you've got one, Kenny, big time, in Lane Kiffin and LSU. What's next?
Yep, he was walking a loser no matter what. Walking away a loser no matter what
Kenny,
yesterday.
getting a little big for your britches here, Kenny. What's the next piece of audio?
Commanders linebacker Bobby Wagner is a different breed. Not only that because he's a professional football player, let's take a listen to what he told his teammates on the in-season edition of Hard Knocks.
I was on an airplane, and you know how I missed the part where they said,
that makes sense when you watch.
Pass you out the headphones. So I don't have the headphones that stick into the thing. So the lady next to me had just started the movie, so I was watching it and I just saw crazy going on. And I low-key watched the whole movie. And it was interesting.
Just what with no audio, just like watched a movie?
Yeah, on an airplane, on someone else's screen. So I guess my question to the crew is, would you ever do this on an airplane? Watch a movie on somebody else's screen?
Well, I've done that before, I feel like, when someone has a movie. But I feel like you could just put the same movie on. Like, that's the thing. It's not like this person has access to something unless they're watching on, like, their iPad or something. But if it's, like, in-flight entertainment, like, you have the same options that person does. Kenny, is a much kinder question than I would have asked. My question probably would have included the letters E, C, and T in a different order. Like, if that's what's happening with Bobby Wagner. Bill or Tyler, any thoughts on this with Bobby Wagner?
Well, the one thing I want to let Bobby Wagner know is, see, there's a little button above your seat, and you push it, and you can get a flight attendant, and you can say, hey, can I get a pair of headphones? It's not complicated. Why you sit there for 2 hours and watch a movie on someone else's screen in silence is a bizarre decision to make.
He's also like filthy rich. Like, why does he need like a cheap pair of headphones that you put them in your ears and your ears are in pain instantaneously? You should
He's
have
probably got AirPods. He probably can't plug them into the seat.
AirPods? I wear AirPods. He's probably got like those like $1,000 like the Beats by Dr. Dre headphones. Like, wear AirPods. Bobby Wagner probably doesn't. Kenny, see if we can sneak in one more piece of sound, please.
Yeah, so big game tomorrow, Bears, Packers, and Cole Kmet, his sister's dating Packers defensive end Lucas Van Ness, and my question to the crew is, we'll play the audio here, would you hate your sister if you're Cole Kmet?
I don't know. I don't talk to her on Packer Week, so I'll find out after the game.
You don't talk to her?
No, I'm kidding. Well, she did ask for tickets, and I just sent her the tickets, so I didn't really respond to anything else besides that.
So, just so I have this right, his sister is a Packers fan?
No, I don't know which fan, like that's like a big question. I think she just cheers for both, and I don't know if that's acceptable or not. But
she cheers for both?
Because she cheers for her brother and her boyfriend.
So Cam Schlittler, right, the Yankees pitcher, who grew up in Boston, right, as a Red Sox fan, like now that he's a Yankee, like he obviously roots against the Red Sox and he wants the Yankees to win. I feel like, okay, so I grew up a Yankee fan, right, and let's make an executive decision here, Bill. Do we want to do a little more Kenny's Corner at some point later in the show? Because this is like cut a little short here.
Yeah, we can try and slide some more in next hour or the hour.
Yeah,
we'll find a spot.
I think we need to find a spot. I feel like I hate the Red Sox as a Yankee fan, but like I don't have a brother, but if I did and he was drafted by the Red Sox, you have to root for the Red Sox, right? It's family over loyalty, right? No?
Yeah, you're not wrong. And Cole Kmet's from my hometown, by the way. He did not grow up a Packers fan.
I feel like there are definitely people out there that would cheer for their hometown team over their flesh and blood. And you people make me sick. Not really. Hour 1 done. Hour 2 for you coming up on the other side. We start the hour talking with my good friend John Jastrzemski from The Ringer. You Better You Bet. Westwood One Sports presented by BetMGM.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports.
The biggest names in the business are on You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos.
Hey, this is Joe Buck, and you have done it. You have found it. You are listening to You Better You Bet. Great decision.
Hi, this is Kevin Harlan of CBS, Westwood One, and TNT, and I'm listening as you do every day to You Better You Bet with the most handsome single man in the radio business. A man who, if I was not married for 38 years, I might consider myself the kind of guy that can electrify a listening audience and a crowd of bystanders watching him do what he does so well each and every day. Continue to listen right here on You Better You Bet.
This is You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. Brought to you by BetMGM.
The phenomenal Football Friday edition of You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports rolls on. And what an hour we've got coming up for you here on this phenomenal Football Friday. 35 minutes from now, former NFL general manager, SiriusXM NFL radio host Tom Telesco will join the show. And I'm going to ask Tom, what's it like interviewing to be the general manager of an NFL team? What do you get asked? What do you prepare to say? And when you interview head coaching candidates, how does that go? I can't wait to hear what Tom Telesco has to say. A star on SiriusXM NFL Radio, Tom Telesco coming up in 35 minutes. We'll do more Kenny's Corner later this hour. Kenny's got some great sound for us to play and react to. We look forward to that. All of my bets for the football weekend, 1 hour from now to begin the final hour, Power Hour, on this Friday. But we'll peel back the curtain for just a second. I want to tell everybody about what happened yesterday. So we're doing the show, and we're about to debut Kenny's Corner for the first time. Kenny Henderson playing a bunch of sound for us here on You Better You Bet from the day before in the world of sports and otherwise. And Kenny hits the intro, stunned like my daddy because he loves Lil Wayne. He's about to cue the first soundbite. And the news comes down like out of a sitcom or out of a movie. Mike McDaniel fired by the Miami Dolphins. And in that moment, I'm like, all right, well, this is what we got to do. And I immediately text our guest at this time, John Jastrzemski, from The Ringer. If you're a New York sports fan, you have to be subscribed to New York, New York, which is it is outstanding New York sports talk. New York is the podcast. He fronts The Ringer sports betting coverage. We're a BetMGM show, but look, they're on FanDuel TV, and we can say that because we're all friends here, and there's enough money for all of us to make. My friend John Jastrzemski. Hey, John, or JJ, can you come on? Couldn't work it out yesterday, so here he is with us today on Twitter at John_Jastrzemski. JJ, welcome back, my friend. Happy Football Friday.
Nikki, I am fired up to be with you, number one. Number two, I apologize I was unable to be with you, so you got me literally right in the middle of me doing my pick segment. It was like Todd McShay, pick segment, McDaniel fired, gambling pod, all in like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yes, the things you get paid to do, as opposed to this, which you're doing out of the kindness of your heart. I can certainly understand.
I drop anything to come on with Nick Kostos. That's absolutely true. But you almost have to understand, for someone that is identifiable for like Yankee fans and Knick fans, there's something about the Dolphins because, I don't know, maybe there aren't that many New York Dolphin fans, or if there are, it's just like I'm the guy. So when news like this breaks, I get 10 zillion texts. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I feel like I am the liaison and the point person to giving everybody what they need one way or another, whether it's flesh, whether it's meat on the bone. I'm happy to do it. And I'm definitely happy to do it for you.
All right, also, I love that. And just for people nationally, because JJ and I are both from New York, might be surprised, New York Dolphins fan, like, how does that happen? Like, I'm a couple, how old are you? Like 33, 34?
No, I'm older, unfortunately. I wish I was 33. I'm 37. I'm going to be 38 in May.
All right, I'll be 43 in June, so I'm 5 years older than you. And yeah, so I'm a little older than you, so I guess I say that to say this, that I had more Marino than you did, right? So there were a lot of kids that I grew up with that love, because the Dolphins also have cool uniforms, right? That love the Dolphins because they love Marino. So I had a couple kids that I grew up with that you would think would be Jets or Giants fans, JJ, that love the Dolphins because they love Dan Marino.
Well, that was me. Marino at the end, Ace Ventura, and yeah, badass uniforms. So you put it all together, and the fact, Nick, that when I was getting into the formative years of being a football fan, the Jets and the Giants were absolutely dreadful. What else is new? It's like a time warp, except the Giants, I guess, were coming off Super Bowls, but I was too young to remember those Super Bowls. So it was like Dave Brown Giants, and it was like Rich Kotite Jets. That's why I didn't root for New York football.
And 94, correct me if I'm wrong, and we'll get to current, I promise, we'll get to present day in a second. 94 is the fake spike game, right? When the Dolphins beat the Jets, Marino to Ingram.
Sure is.
That's the
Fake
first, that's
game.
the Dave Brown year as the Giants quarterback. It's 94.
So fake spike game and a crushing Dolphin playoff loss to the San Diego Chargers, who went on to win the AFC that year. Now, the silver lining, even if Marino got back to that Super Bowl, could have gotten absolutely waxed by the 94 Niners. So that gives me a little peace of mind, you know?
So it would have been a nice little bit of synergy there. Waxed by the Niners in 84 and then waxed by the Niners in 1990. That Steve Young Niners team was not going to be stopped in Super Bowl 29, no matter who they played in that game. All right, let's get to present day. So your team fires Mike McDaniel yesterday. Thoughts that maybe John Harbaugh is going to be, I don't see that happening. Lay it out for us here. Your emotions as a Dolphins fan. McDaniel out. Who do you want, etc.?
It's pretty simple. I want John Harbaugh. And I got to be honest, Nick, if you would have told me 48 hours ago that John Harbaugh would be coaching the Miami Dolphins, I would have said you're certifiably insane. The Dolphins do not have the quarterback. The Dolphins do not have the cap space. If we're going to go and break down all of the openings from a football perspective, they're one of the worst job openings you can find with their situation, with Josh Allen in the AFC East, with Drake May and Mike Vrabel in the AFC East. So what's changed between Tuesday and Thursday? Well, the Dolphins out of nowhere go and put this Alexander on the GM list, where the 3 GM frontrunners were all Mike McDaniel people.
And by the way, I need to interrupt you to tell you this, because this is like, this news just came down like literally seconds ago from ESPN's Adam Schefter. The Dolphins have hired a new general manager. It will be Packers Vice President of Player Personnel, John Eric Sullivan. So it's not Chad Alexander as the Dolphins general manager.
You know what? That changes serious calculus now, because a lot of people looked at Alexander from his Ravens ties and said, hey, there's your GM, there's your head coach, there's the John Harbaugh synergy. This Packer GM coming in, I wonder if the Packer defensive coordinator now moves top of the list. You know what I mean, Nikki? Like, that was the thought process with Harbaugh, that it was, hey, GM opening, head coach opening, build it from the ground up. That was the case for Miami. From a football sense, tough to find that case, to be perfectly honest with you.
Lead us through your emotions in this moment. You were literally just saying how you think Harbaugh can, and now I have delivered this news. How do you feel in this exact moment as a huge sports fan and huge Dolphins fan?
It's funny. I thought 24 hours ago the chances of John Harbaugh going to the Dolphins were really good. Now I think they have diminished dramatically. Maybe you got to get your John Harbaugh quarter zip hat and all that good stuff for the New York Giants. Maybe the Giant Harbaugh train is back on board if he can stomach the idea of working with Joe Schoen.
Oh, please. Yeah, he's going to tell John Mara, I ain't answering to Joe Schoen.
Yesterday on my show, if the Giants are serious about hiring John Harbaugh, and he comes in and says, look, I want the job under one condition. Shane's got to go. He should be fired in 5 seconds.
I mean, God, he should have been fired 5 months ago. 100%.
No question.
I'm with you here. I'm with you here. Now, only because you mentioned Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley maybe being a Dolphins candidate now that they've hired the Packers Vice President of Player Personnel, John Eric Sullivan. That news breaking moments ago. You know, when it comes to Harbaugh, I said this a couple days ago, and I think I'm going to be right about this if the Packers lose. And whether or not we agree or disagree that it would be the right decision, I actually think it would be the wrong decision. But there's a lot of smoke, JJ, that if the Packers lose tomorrow night, and we'll get to all the wild card bets, right, for Super Wild Card Weekend, if they lose to the Bears, that Matt LaFleur could be out of a job. Would you want Matt LaFleur potentially?
Oh, my God, 5 minutes. I can have him in 5 minutes. He takes teams to the playoffs every year. Look at what he did with Malik Willis. Yes, I would take Matt LaFleur in 5 minutes.
Is it your sense that John Harbaugh will be the next head coach of the New York Football Giants? And if not Harbaugh, what do you think happens?
So this is wild to me, Nick. I want to take you through the roller coaster of emotions of the past week.
Let's do it.
Monday, I'm like, Kevin Stefanski is going to be a Giant head coach. And I love it. I've gotten into arguments with people on Kevin Stefanski. Cleveland is the abyss and wasteland for football since they rebooted the franchise. He won a playoff game in Cleveland. He took a team to the
beat
playoffs.
the Steelers too. Beat the Steelers in that playoff
who they
game.
Never ever beat. And I know he was on the couch and had COVID. Sorry, he gets to win. That's number one. Number two, he had a team with 5 different quarterbacks. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. 5 different quarterbacks, and took them to the postseason. Kevin Stefanski can coach his ass off. So if he ends up with the New York Giants, I'm thrilled because I have a quarterback that I like. I have pieces on the roster that are appealing, and I'm getting a capable, quality head coach. Okay, that's where I was Monday. Harbaugh becomes available, and look, the resume speaks for itself. It's tough to say no to John Harbaugh. The guy wins double-digit games every year. He's won a Super Bowl. The Giants need a program. He'd build you a program. Then the Dolphins stuff comes out. Here's what I would say from a Giant perspective. It's very simple. Kevin Stefanski or John Harbaugh needs to be the next head coach of the team. I don't care who it is. Either way, the Giants are in great shape. Stefanski or Harbaugh. And I believe Jackson Dart said that on the sideline of the Ole Miss game yesterday. So
yeah, the lip readers had that, right? Had Dart gets people that missed this. Dart's on the sideline for the Ole Miss Miami game, and someone asked him who's going to be the coach, and he says, Harbaugh or Stefanski, I don't know. And the lip readers have got that, and people can check that out on social media.
Well, maybe the quarterback is willing that into existence. And you could have a preference of Kevin Stefanski. I think you're well within your rights because of his offensive acumen. You could clearly have a preference of John Harbaugh because of the resume. You're a Giant fan. I give you one of those two options. I know you like Stefanski. You would take either one.
I would take either one.
Of course. How could you not?
I mean, off of.
You'd be an idiot to say otherwise. And you're not an idiot, but any Giant fan who's trying to talk themselves out of either one of Stefanski or Harbaugh is just not paying attention to the NFL. That's all.
You're the perfect person for me to say this to, because you're a Dolphins guy. I am not trolling. I mean this sincerely. I like both of your former head coaches. I think Brian Flores should be a head coach. How about this? Because you asked me Harbaugh or Stefanski. If it's not one of those two guys, I want Brian Flores as the Giants head coach. And
I'm totally
I would take
cool with that. And you take McDaniel as the OC.
Oh my! Honestly, if you told me Flores and McDaniel, I would take that over Stefanski or Harbaugh. If I got Flores and McDaniel.
Here's the problem with that, though. Brian Flores sued your football team.
I know.
And sued your owner. So from a calculus standpoint,
seem to be an issue.
It's kind of hard to become the next head coach of the team when it's like, hey, Mara family, about that lawsuit.
But let's say that John Mara called, and I'm making this, like Joe Shane calls Flores' agent. Like, hey, we'd like to potentially hire you. I don't know this. My guess is he dropped the lawsuit. I don't want to speak for him. I don't know. I think he should be a head coach again. I'll just say that.
I would agree. And his tenure in Miami is going to age well because of what has happened with Tua. Now, again, a lot of revisionist history around the Brian Flores Tua stuff, because if you know anything about Chris Greer in Miami was a pretty subservient GM. So there might have been some disagreements, but at the end of the day, Chris Greer did what the head coach wanted him to do. I think Flores and Tua was more of a souring over a 2-year window when Tua was in the building, and Brian Flores just watched him and is saying to himself, I'm not getting the quarterback I had that was moving around at Alabama, and grew incredibly frustrated. But Brian also built terrible offensive staffs. That's why for him to be a bona fide star as a head coach, he needs to get the right offensive coordinator, desperately. So I don't know if there would be a synergy with Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel has so many friends in the league. If you're not on his list, it's probably going to be hard to hire him because Quinn knows him well. Campbell apparently is all in on the idea of getting him. It feels like everybody is Mike McDaniel's buddy. So that's going to be a tough hire if you don't have a relationship. But if it's Brian Dable or Brian Flores, and maybe that's what we see in Vegas, I'm with it. I think it's a good hire.
Could you imagine? I think there's a chance McDaniel might get another head coaching job. We'll see. Maybe Cleveland, right, has been the one that's been, yeah. If
he's getting a job anywhere, it's Cleveland because of the ties he has to the organization and the fact, Nick, that nobody wants that Cleveland job. Nobody.
And, just to be fair to Mike McDaniel, Robert Mays from The Athletic tweeted this yesterday, and I think The Athletic football show is awesome. I think he does a great job. And I think he might be right about this. Just that if Mike McDaniel, and you people can disagree with this, but if Mike McDaniel is someone that we say, could be an offensive coordinator for any team in the league, maybe he should just be a head coach. if that's the case. I think it's just interesting food for thought as we move forward this offseason. All right. You better you bet on this Friday. Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM. John Jastrzemski from The Ringer is our guest. New York, and fronts The Ringer's betting coverage. He is one of us. Hashtag one of us. Loves to bet on games. Let's talk about Super Wildcard Weekend. You want to go in chronological order here? Give us a quick take on every game?
Whatever you want to do.
All right, well, there is no surprise. We'll go in chronological order. Let's start with the first game tomorrow, which is the Rams and the Panthers. LA, a 10.5-point road favorite at the Panthers. Total of the game is 46. Do you have a betting thought on this one?
I have a rule. I can't take an underdog in good faith if I think they have zero chance to win the game. And Nikki, I think Carolina has zero chance to win the game. You're telling me Carolina, who beat the Rams a month ago in a fluky, weird game with a pick six, a little bit of an emotional letdown for the Rams, was a sleepy 1 o'clock December window game for them. Now, all of a sudden, are going to get beat by Carolina again? I can't see it. Now, full disclosure, you are going to be sweating a big-time backdoor cover if you go in and lay it with Los Angeles. You're going to sweat it. I don't think it's a game where Los Angeles is going to go and win by 24, 27 points. But if I can't come on your show and make the case that Carolina can, dare I say, have a chance to win the game, I don't want to be a fraud and say, oh, take the 10.5. Therefore, the game will be close. Oh, you just got to hope it's close. No, the Rams are healthier. The Rams, to me, are the best team pound for pound in the NFC. I think they're the best team in the league when they're right, when they're healthy. And I think this is a flex spot for them. So, yeah, they'll be up 17, and I'm going to have to hold on for a backdoor cover. But give me Stafford. Give me Nakua. Adams is back. He's going to score a touchdown. A lot of Kyron Williams in the second half. Give me the Rams.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to lay the Rams, but I'm with you that the Rams are going to win. I'm gonna have the Rams as part of like a money line parlay piece with games this weekend.
Me, and everybody else in America, which is scary, but it's still the right thing to do.
I'll say, like, listen, sometimes everybody wins. And that will be a leg of the parlay. I don't know if the parlay will win, but I think that'll be a leg that wins. Give me a quick thought on the Eagles and Niners, because I don't know if I actually might lay Philly. I love Philly in the game. Philly money line feels good to me. You agree? Eagles Niners here in like 30 seconds?
So I do. The problem I have, though, and it's a big problem, the Eagle offense is still broken. I don't care how bad the Niner defense may be. Are the Eagles going to put up margin in this game? That's why I'd be hesitant to go and lay the number.
I did this take on the show yesterday. Just want to see if you like it or not. I said the Eagles offense has been impotent this season. The Niners defense will be Viagra on Sunday. You like that's not bad, right?
Yeah. I feel like I'm like the guinea pig for the stand-up comic. Yeah. I'm in.
I already did it live. I just wanted to see if you liked it or not.
You get more approval.
I said we would go in chronological order, but Bill Zimmerman reminded me that we have to take our second break at 32 minutes past the hour. So, JJ, I'm going to group a bunch of games together. Packers-Bears tomorrow night, pick the winner, 44.5. Bills-Jaguars Sunday afternoon, pick the winner, 51.5 the total. Sunday Night Football, Patriots and the Chargers, New England, 3.5 and 46. Do you have a favorite or like a couple bets that you like out of that set of games?
All right, two. I absolutely love the Green Bay Packers. I know you mentioned LaFleur being on the hot seat. Why are the Packers off a 4-game losing streak in Chicago as a 7-seed favorite in the game? That, to me, is all you need to know. The Bears' defense is fraudulent. I love Green Bay, and I may have egg on my face, and I may be mocked by my boss for this one. I love the Los Angeles Chargers getting 3.5. The Jesse Minter factor. Herbert's third playoff game. Harbaugh. If not now, then when against a Patriot team that played Cupcake City? And then I got to throw in one more for good measure. Texans, it's over for Mr. Rodgers. He had his moment in Week 18. There's going to be a reckoning against that Texan defense. So Chargers, Texans, Packers. I gave you 3.
I like 2 of those 3. I like the Packers. We'll talk more. And I do think there's like a win thing that we'll talk about next hour on the show. I love the Chargers. I think the Steelers will beat the Texans, so I'll talk about that.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Now look, like last night, JJ and I went heads up on the game as JJ texted me during the game. Who do you like? I was like, I like Ole Miss. JJ had Miami. Miami wins by 4, and JJ won and I lost. So tonight, I think we are on the same side with Oregon and Indiana, but let's find out and make it official. JJ, current side and total of this game at our show sponsor, BetMGM. Indiana, 3.5, 48.5 the total. What do you like, Indiana, Oregon, here to wrap?
I've bet the Oregon Ducks. Their defense was unbelievable the last time we saw them. And I know Indiana got the better of Oregon in the first matchup, but I think Lanning having that film on Mendoza, getting a look at those Indiana wide receivers, I think it's going to be advantageous here. And Nikki, we like to dial into this. This line opened up at 4. Indiana's the public darling. Everybody loves them, right? Everybody can't get enough of Cignetti. Everybody can't get enough of Mendoza. And yet the odds makers are more than cool to lower that line a half point. I think that tells you something. I think it's a field goal game, but I think Oregon live to go and win outright.
Quack, quack, baby. I'll be on the Ducks tonight, plus the points as well. JJ is the best. JJ does all the betting coverage for The Ringer. You can watch him on FanDuel TV with our friends Cousin Sal, our friend Raheem Palmer, our buddy Anthony DeBundo on the show. A lot of friends of You Better You Bet. You can check all of that out. His New York sports-centric podcast, if you're in the New York metropolitan area, you absolutely have to be subscribed to New York, New York on Twitter at John_Jastrzemski. My friend, you're the best. I appreciate it. Sorry to break that news about the Dolphins hiring the Packers VP of player personnel.
Yeah, I mean, going from John Harbaugh to Jeff Hafley is incredibly underwhelming. So thanks for that, Nikki. Thanks for that.
Good luck with the bets this weekend. Go Oregon. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, bud.
JJ joining us here on You Better You Bet. He is the absolute best. And again, New York sports fan, New York, New York, on Twitter at John_Jastrzemski. I know he loves the Dolphins. He held that together really well there. Basically telling him, hey, like, you're probably not getting John Harbaugh, which, you know, I said on the show yesterday, like, John Harbaugh's not going to Miami. No disrespect to the Miami Dolphins. Actually, I am disrespecting the Miami Dolphins. John Harbaugh ain't going to Miami. Tom Telesco joins us coming up later this hour. On the other side, I'm going to tell you, the listener, and you, the viewer, why Washington quarterback DeMond Williams did his best George Costanza impersonation over the next couple days. You Better You Bet on a Friday. Westwood One Sports.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports.
action, pressure off the edge. Williams does a great job to step up. And my goodness, Denzel Boston waits for it and will walk in for a Washington touchdown.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
The college football playoff semifinals are here. Started last night. And whether you're riding on an upset or hoping the favorite dominates, betting with a boost makes every playoff moment even more memorable. Activate today's Odds Boost token on any college football playoff game, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Download the BetMGM app today. Visit BetMGM.com right now, or at some point today, and make it legendary. And as always, please gamble responsibly. Everyone that's chimed in on YouTube today, youtube.com/@thekostos. We'll get to a couple here, and I will promise I will read more of them over the course of the show. Just been absolutely loaded with content today. At Captain Insano says the MVP of last night's game, the Miami offensive line. Although they gave up 4 sacks, they only gave up 1 tackle for loss. Touchdowns were the big ugly shutting down the DL and during screens running downfield. I don't know if I read that incorrectly or not. But thank you very much to Captain Insano. Our friend Mark Summers. Is it still considered a Hail Mary if it's from 35 yards out directly to a wide receiver? Mark, my answer to that question, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Franchise Davis, what a fourth quarter for all on the over and the Ole Miss team total. Thought the missed field goal, the doink, was going to cost them. Ole Miss obviously goes over the team total. And we got a couple more here, but I'll save them for next hour on the show. ESPN courtesy of the highlight coming back from break of Washington quarterback DeMond Williams. And in case you, the listener, you, the viewer, if you're not aware of what's been happening here, kind of symptomatic of what's wrong with college football right now. So DeMond Williams is the Washington quarterback last year, a pretty highly regarded college quarterback. Washington goes 9-4, 25 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions. So earlier this week, DeMond Williams signs a deal. I'm still not used to saying things like this. Signs a deal to stay at Washington as the quarterback next season, and then announces he's going to enter the transfer portal after signing a deal. And there are reports that Washington's going to pursue legal action to keep him as the quarterback, and his agency drops him like with a tweet with a visual aid. Basically, we wish him the best, but we are parting ways because of philosophical differences. And in this moment, DeMond Williams feels like George Costanza in Seinfeld when George quits his job and decides, you know what? Maybe I should try and get this job back. Listen to this iconic back and forth with George and Jerry from Seinfeld.
Maybe you can just go back.
Go back?
Yeah. Pretend like it never happened.
You mean just walk into the staff meeting on Monday morning like it never happened?
Sure. You're an emotional person. People don't take you seriously.
Just go back. Pretend the whole thing never happened.
Never happened.
I was blowing off a little steam. So what?
So what? You're entitled.
I'm emotional.
That's right. You're emotional.
Never happened.
Never happened.
The best part of these interactions with Jerry and if you watch, and I hope you have watched Seinfeld because it's the funniest show ever. And yes, it's subjective. Like you could think like, I don't know, Friends is better. Like you'd be way wrong on that. One of my personal favorite parts of those interactions is that Jerry absolutely knows he's setting George up for failure. And they are great friends. He's not doing it to be a jerk. He's doing it because he finds humor in it. And if you understand their dynamic, you watch the show, you know that that's true. So DeMond Williams just decides, hey, I'm leaving. You know what? This never happened. I'm actually coming back. And it looks like DeMond Williams will be the quarterback in Washington next year, despite publicly announcing his intentions to leave. So he right now is George Costanza. It's not a lie, if you believe it. But we had people going nuts earlier this week, including I saw a video and he was really entertaining. Our friend Pat Boyle from BetMGM tonight. I'm not criticizing Pat. Pat is wildly entertaining, and the show is great. 6 to 11 p.m. Eastern here on Westwood One Sports. Pat's going nuts, saying DeMond Williams, this is going to ruin college football. And I love Pat, and it was entertaining, and I enjoyed watching it. He's settle down. Settle down, Pat Boyle. If this is really something that's driving you, the listener, and you, the viewer, that crazy, maybe this is a you issue. Don't hate the player. Hate the game. It's not DeMond Williams' fault. The NCAA's got to get its act together. And I'm not saying that this is all right or that it should be allowed to happen, but it is for right now. And if you want to say he should be loyal because he signed a contract, nothing in college football right now is loyal. And I'm a dad. And as my daughter grows up, I want her to be loyal to her significant other, whoever that is, to her family, to her friends. College sports, please, you got to do what's best for you and be loyal to the right people. Don't hate the player. Hate the game. On the other side, former NFL general manager Tom Telesco of SiriusXM NFL Radio joins me, Nick Kostos, and you, whoever the hell you are, on You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports.
Got to be Justin Jefferson. You know, honestly, there were a lot of people out there that thought that JJ to JJ would be dynamite, and it was the antithesis of that this year. McCarthy just wildly inconsistent. And a guy obviously was dealing with injury. He got some, Max Brosmer, which, brought the overall statistical output way down for Justin Jefferson. I had 141 targets. He had 84 grabs. Okay, nothing to scoff at there, but barely over 1,000 yards receiving. And not one, but only two. He had 2 total touchdowns this year. He was a guy that was a wide receiver 3. In terms of ADP, his overall ADP was at pick number 5.58. So chances are he was a borderline top 5 pick overall in your fantasy draft, and he finished at wide receiver 36, barely starting worthy in 12-team leagues that require 3 wide receivers to start. He was number 68 in catchable target rates. Again, not his fault. His quarterback play was shoddy. He was number 10 in YAC, only a 54.2 passer rating when targeted. That is just wretched and disgusting. And number 51 in yards per catch at 12.5. I mean, obviously, there was going to point up. I'll be curious to see what the discount is on him in drafts next season, but are we really a believer in J.J. McCarthy? The jury is still very much out on his overall development. Jefferson, usually a surefire, round 1 pick, may slip in like the back half of round 2, maybe early round 3, because people simply do not trust McCarthy, and my hand is raised. I'm one of them.
back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
Coming up in 20 minutes, roll through every single game. Wildcard weekend in the National Football League. Very much look forward to that. Bets for tonight in the world of sports will close the show. Joining us right now, and I've been so stoked for this for a couple days, ever since we knew that this was going to be a possibility, because I've heard him on Sirius XM NFL radio, and I've never actually spoken to Tom Telesco, former NFL general manager of the Chargers and Raiders. He will join us in just a moment here. But I started my career after I graduated college at Sirius NFL Radio, before it was even Sirius XM NFL Radio. So I follow what goes on there pretty closely. I listen to it in the car sometimes, and they obviously do an awesome job. So it is awesome to welcome to the show one of the stars of Sirius XM NFL Radio, former general manager of the LA Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders, Sirius XM NFL Radio, Channel 88, Tom Telesco here on the show, on social media at Tom Telesco14. Tom, Nick Kostos here on You Better You Bet. Sincerely appreciate you joining the show. Happy NFL playoffs, my friend, to you and yours.
Hey, Nick, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the intro. I think star is a little bit strong, but I'll take it. And appreciate you having me on the show.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. And I do want to get your thoughts on some of the games this weekend, some of the openings out there in terms of general managers and head coach. But when I get the opportunity, Tom, to talk to someone like you, I feel like there are a couple questions I need to ask, right? Because I feel like the audience would love to know the answers to these questions also. Now, I will preface this by saying I am not looking for anything salacious here. Like, this does not have to be anything specific, like did an owner ever ask you a ridiculous question? That's not what this is. But you've interviewed and have gotten a couple general manager jobs in the National Football League, which is ridiculously cool, and I'm sure you know that. Like, what goes into that preparation before we talk about what's happening present day in the NFL? But take us behind the curtain a little bit. When you're getting set to interview to be the GM of an NFL team, like, what sorts of things are you doing to prepare, the type of questions you're anticipating? What happens throughout that process? I'm fascinated by it, and I'm guessing our audience is as well.
Yeah, no, that's actually, I don't think I've ever been asked that question before. But when I was with the Colts, so in the mid-2000s, as I was a director of player personnel, and we had gone to a couple Super Bowls, and at that point, what I would do each summer is just kind of, keep a book together of, hey, if I was ever a general manager, these are the kind of things that I've learned. And I worked for Bill Polian for a long time, so you're working for a Hall of Fame GM, you tend to learn a lot. And I would just kind of keep a book together of all different facets of a football operation and kind of my guidelines, thoughts, visions of how I would handle things. So you have this book, you kind of work out in the summers. It's more of you can't really take the time of your current job to be working on your next job, but it's a nice summer project to do. But honestly, when you go in for an interview for a GM job and you sit down with ownership, you have this book with you, you put it on the table, you very rarely open it. They want to know just a couple of things. Basically, they want to know what's wrong with our team and how you're going to fix it. And that's really what it comes down to. So when you go into that interview, whether it's coaching, whether it's the talent on their roster, whether it's salary cap, whether it's culture, whatever it is, you really have to identify what are the reasons why this team isn't winning and basically give them, hey, this is my plan of how we're going to fix this, how we're going to attack it. And that's really most of the interview. Usually owners want to hear about their own team. They want to hear about their own players. They want to hear about what you're seeing from the outside and then what your plan is to go about and fix it. And it's a fascinating process. I enjoyed the interview process. I enjoy helping people now kind of go through the interview process, whether you're a head coach or a general manager. Just something I like to do.
Were you, and I think there's different ways to skin a cat, right? Like you could kind of beat around the bush. And I'm not here to say like one is better than the other, but owner wants to say like, what do you think of our quarterback? If you don't think the quarterback is good, were you more like brutally honest? Like, yeah, like I don't think this quarterback's very good. Are you kind of being like a little softer with the approach there? Like, what was your approach going into that here? And I promise we'll get to stuff that's actually happening now. I just think this is so interesting.
I think you have to be honest. You have to. What I worry about some people, and you see it with coaches and probably GMs too, you don't want to give answers that the owners just want to hear, because if you get the job, right off the bat, you're going to be on the wrong foot as far as what has to be done with the football team. So, and I think most owners, they want honesty. That there's a reason why there's been a change made. There's a reason why you're in the room to talk about their team. And I think you have to be brutally honest of where you see the football team. The worst thing you could do is to tell somebody in that room that, how close you are and we're just one or two players away, which you never are, but some people like to say that. And then you get the job and then you look at the team, you're like, hey, look, just so you know, we're a year or two away talent-wise from getting this together. And right off the bat, you kind of lose that trust and that trust that you need in the relationship between the GM and the ownership group. So, no, you have to be honest with where you see the football team. Look, there's a reason why you're there. If everything was great, there usually is not a change being made.
What's the biggest thing you learned from Bill Polian when you worked for him with the Colts?
Wow, it's hard to put that into. I was so just by luck. My office was literally maybe 10 feet from Bill's door, and Bill's door was always open. So I got a chance to learn when I was in pro scouting, when I was in the office every day, and then working my way up the ladder. That he would include myself and his son Chris, at least to listen into of different discussions of what was going on, what he's working with, maybe working with the league office, working with agents, working with the head coach. But one of the biggest things is just, obviously this is football, but it's a people business. And as a general manager, it's not really a scouting job, even though everybody wants to make it out to be a scouting job since, you're responsible for the draft and that's such a big main focus. But it's a leadership job and it's a decision-making job. And you have a lot of people that work for you. You have a huge scouting staff on the college side. You have a scouting staff on the pro side. You have a coaching staff. And then you have all the support staffs, whether it's the athletic training room, equipment, video, public relations. And you have to tie this all together as a general manager. And it's not just about, who you're picking in the draft. So it's a lot about working with people, listening to opinions, sometimes, massaging different things and trying to work things out with whether, it could be a coach, it could be a team doctor, or it could be a trainer, it could be whatever, but you're leading the organization and you have to remember that and hire really good people underneath you. We give them a vision and then let them work. So I probably learned more about just how to lead people and lead an organization just as much as I learned about, what type of feet and strength and leverage that an offensive tackle has to have. Bill was just incredible with just having a wide range of knowledge of how to run an organization.
Last question along these veins, Tom, and I really appreciate the insight here. And I'm sure your journey has come with ups and downs like anybody else's has, like whatever field you're in. I think that's just kind of like the human experience, right? Do you ever stop to think, with how much people love the NFL, you're the GM of an NFL team in two different stops for over a decade. Do you ever think man, that's really freaking cool?
Yes. Yeah, and it's funny
because it is, right?
When I was a kid growing up, I never had any thoughts of working in the NFL. That was never a dream of mine. I didn't even know it was possible. I was just, I played sports in high school, football and basketball and a little bit of baseball, and I played football in college at a Division III school, and I got an internship with the Buffalo Bills just by happenstance, just because they were looking for some college players to work in the summer for the Bills, and I was from Buffalo and a big Bills fan, and I thought it'd be a really cool summer job that I could learn some things I could bring back to college to be a better player. And it would be fun to work, for an NFL team for the summer. So I did that as a summer job for 3 summers, never thinking that it would ever lead to a real full-time job. And things were just different. This was the early 90s. I didn't even know there were that many jobs in the NFL. So,
and that's where you met Bill Polian, right? Because Bill was running the Bills at that point, right?
Yep. Bill was the GM, and then Bill went to the Carolina Panthers in 1995, and they were an expansion team, and he had to hire a whole staff from scratch, from top to bottom. And I had just graduated from college, and Bill gave me a call, or it wasn't even Bill, it was probably an assistant, and said, hey, would you want to come down and help out for the summer? I thought it sounded cool. I drove down to Charlotte. I worked for the summer, and then I kind of liked being around a team again, and, maybe I could do this for a living. And honestly, no one told me to go home when training camp ended, so I just kept coming into work every day like I was a full-time employee, and before you knew it, I was working on the scouting side, and things took off from there.
That's all. I went to the NFC Championship game in year 2, so that was pretty cool with the Carolina Panthers. I love this. Yep. I love this so much already. You bet here on this Friday, Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos here with you. Our guest, former NFL general manager. He doesn't like to be called this, I'll say it anyway. One of the stars of Sirius XM NFL Radio, a station to which I have great affinity. Started my professional career there. Tom Telesco here with us on the show. On Twitter at TomTelesco14. I want to ask you about like Dom Capers and working for the Kerry Collins and those Panthers teams, but we will now get to actual stuff that's happening in present day. And I guess the big one here is Tom, and obviously you don't have a crystal ball. This can be a pencil, not pen answer, because who the hell knows what's going to happen. What's your best guess as to where John Harbaugh ends up coaching in 2026 and why?
That's a great question. I can't answer where I think he's going to end up. The good thing is there's a lot of options there for him. There's some interesting jobs that are open. It's just, for him to work 18 years with one organization is so rare this day and age. You just never see that. I kind of thought originally when I first saw this come down a couple of days ago is, maybe takes a year off and gets refreshed. It's this job. It's hard. There's a lot of pressure. It's 7 days a week, 24/7, and thought maybe he'll take a step back, refresh for a year and then come back next year. But it sounds like he's ready to jump right back in, which I went through the same situation when I got let go from the Chargers. I thought I may need a refresh, kind of step away for a year. And then the Raiders opportunity came up and, your competitive juices start flowing. You're like, hey, let's go. And I bet you he's very much the same way. I think the Giants job is really interesting. Really, any job, any team that has a quarterback in place, it has to be a place that they're looking at first. That's the number one thing you have to have is a franchise quarterback ready to go. So if you look at these jobs, obviously the Giants are one of them. Even the Titans right now, the Titans may be very similar to the way the Patriots were last year, where they have a lot of work to do, but at least they have the quarterback in place there. The Dolphins, we don't know. Falcons, we don't know where their quarterback's going to be. The Cardinals, we don't know where their quarterback's going to be, really. Browns, a little bit in the same boat. Raiders, at least, I don't know if he ends up with the Raiders or not, but at least the Raiders have a path to a quarterback. So I guess we'll see next week where he starts interviewing. He starts narrowing it down from there. But just the fact that he's available right now has got to make a lot of teams excited.
I'm guessing, Tom, that you're not going to want to answer this question, but I want to ask it. And I'm just saying, given we're GM in the NFL, but I want to ask this question. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. But I am a New York Giants fan. So I grew up in New York. I love the Giants, been a football fan my entire life. Giants general manager, he's coming back whether I think it's the right move or not. So Joe Shane's coming back as the GM. There is some talk in the New York metropolitan area and nationally that if the Giants hire John Harbaugh, that could be curtains for Joe Shane, because John Harbaugh might be the one coach with enough gravitas to say, I don't want to work for this general manager. Do you think any part of Joe Shane is nervous right now that might be the outcome? And if you don't want to put yourself, because I know that he does a job that you did also, but I want to at least ask that question because I think it's a question that I'd like to know the answer to, if that's fair.
To me, I think he would be excited that there's a potentially an experienced Super Bowl winning head coach that's available that may want to come to his team. So I don't think he's scared or worried about it. I don't know John Harbaugh personally. I've been in the same league with him for a long time, so followed his career. I'm assuming he likes good football people that love the game and work at it. And look, the Giants roster, they have some talent there. What we just have to figure out is why some of that talent hasn't performed to the level that they should be performing at. So I like the front office at the Giants. They also have Kevin Abrams, who's been there a long time. He's an outstanding football operations and cap and knows football as well. Tim McDonald would be hired with any team. I've tried to hire him a couple times when I was a GM. He's outstanding in director of player personnel, knows pro in college. So they have a good front office there. They've had a couple good drafts back-to-back to have a quarterback. I'm a big Jackson Dart fan, so I was in the draft last year. I think he's a franchise quarterback that you can build around. There's a lot of pieces there. So I think if you're Joe Shane and you feel like you have some pieces, now it's not the finished product, but they're starting in a good spot. It's a major market. They have a tremendous ownership group. It's an iconic franchise, and if there's a chance that there's a experienced winning head coach that can bring in a culture and a plan, I would be a lot more excited than I would be nervous. I can tell you that. So I'm sure they're heavily interested in him, and we'll kind of see where that plays out.
Tom, I loved this interview And I want to apologize for asking you all, just I know if I'm interested, the audience will be interested. I hope that we get to do this a couple more times leading up to the NFL draft, and then we can just talk some football leading up to the draft and really lean into your expertise. But I appreciate the candor, talking about your journey, and all of the stuff was really great. Tom Telesco, former NFL general manager, Sirius XM, NFL Radio, at Tom Telesco 14. I really appreciate it. I hope to do this again soon.
Anytime, Nick. Thanks for having me on.
Tom Telesco joining us here on You Better You Bet. Bill, our executive producer, Bill, we need to get Tom back on the show, because that was very enjoyable, and that is awesome. Final hour, Power Hour coming up next. Rob Pizzola will join us. All our bets for tonight in the world of sports, and all my bets coming up for Wild Card Weekend next.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports.
It's got to be Justin Jefferson. Honestly, there were a lot of people out there that thought that JJ to JJ would be dynamite, and it was the antithesis of that this year. McCarthy just wildly inconsistent. And a guy obviously was dealing with injury. He got some, Max Brosmer, which, brought the overall statistical output way down for Justin Jefferson. I had 141 targets. He had 84 grabs. Okay, nothing to scoff at there, but barely over 1,000 yards receiving. And not one, but only two. He had 2 total touchdowns this year. He was a guy that was a wide receiver 3. In terms of ADP, his overall ADP was at pick number 5.58. So chances are he was a borderline top 5 pick overall in your fantasy draft, and he finished at wide receiver 36, barely starting worthy in 12-team leagues that require 3 wide receivers to start. He was number 68 in catchable target rate. Again, not his fault. His quarterback play was shoddy. He was number 10 in YAC, only a 54.2 passer rating when targeted. That is just wretched and disgusting. And number 51 in yards per catch at 12.5. I mean, obviously, there was going to point up. I'll be curious to see what the discount is on him in drafts next season, but are we really a believer in J.J. McCarthy? The jury is still very much out on his overall development. Jefferson, usually a surefire, round 1 pick, may slip in the back half of round 2, maybe early round 3, because people simply do not trust McCarthy, and my hand is raised. I'm one of them.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos and the crew. Presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Bring it up, Kenny. Final hour. Power hour. You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos, our awesome crew, and whoever the hell you are, I love you. Power hour and every hour here on You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. A couple times this hour, we're going to tell you about why you, dear listener, and you, dear viewer, should be using BetMGM to place your college football bets for Indiana, Oregon. Tonight, you will get a nice boost to your bet. Actually, do we want to, Tyler, you want to give me that read? Mike Brown just put it up in what's called Q here. So we have it. Mike, you can put it on the screen here. I will try and find the read, and we can do that in a second here. I've kind of put Tyler in a bed. Oh, here we go. I found it. So the semifinals are here. Indiana, Oregon tonight. And whether you're riding on an upset or hoping the favorite dominates, betting with a boost makes every playoff moment even more memorable. Activate today's odds boost token on any college football playoff game. Indiana, Oregon. It's the only one for a week and a half. And you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Download the BetMGM app today. Visit BetMGM.com so you can make it legendary. Want to get to a couple YouTube comments? YouTube.com/@thekostos. I know that there are people still watching the show in the old YouTube feed. I appreciate you very much. That feed, YouTube.com/@thebetmgm network. The BetMGM network is dead. Sadly. It is what it is. It's gone. Doesn't exist anymore. See ya. So on Monday, that YouTube page will no longer exist. You cannot watch. So if you're watching right now on the BetMGM Network YouTube page, it dies today. Today is the last day of it. So please subscribe. YouTube.com/@thekostos, THEKOSTOS. YouTube.com/@thekostos, THEKOSTOS. And while you're at it, you can follow me on all socials @thekostos. Instagram, Twitter, @thekostos, THEKOSTOS. Keep the comments coming. I am, I've said it. Yes, I said it yesterday on the air. I've said it off air. I'll say it now. And I mean it. I love how much interaction we've had this week. It's the first week on a new time slot doing the show, first full week. And the fact that we've had as much interaction as we've had has been sensational. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you'll allow me to say this, if you like the show, tell your friends, tell your relatives, tell your acquaintances. YouTube.com/@thekostos. If they love sports, they love to bet, this is the show for them. All right, some YouTube comments coming in. Our friend Mark says, as a fan of football, great interview with Tom Telesco. I agree. And I don't even say that to pat myself on the back, although I am pretty good. Loved getting a general manager's insight. I thought it was awesome too. And I really, like I said it on the air, and look, I'll be real. Even if he sucked, he didn't. He was great. Even if he sucked, I'm never going to be like, hey, like you sucked. So when I say at the end of the interview, like I want to have you on again, like I meant that. That was sincere. If I thought he was bad, like I don't know if I would say, let's get you on again. I'd just be like, hey, really appreciate the time. I'm being honest with everybody. He was awesome, and I hope that we get to have him on more frequently here on You Better You Bet. Geo8843. And I swear, on my daughter, this is true. I don't know if I have to go to that extreme, but I'm being honest. When Tom said that his internship with the Carolina Panthers ran out and he just kept coming to work, Geo writes, how about bringing up the Seinfeld scene with DeMond Williams when George quits his job and then shows back up on Monday, and then Tom Telesco saying he just kept showing up at Panthers camp? I swear that in that moment, I thought that also. But I'm thinking, we're running a little short on time. I got to get to some stuff happening in present day in the NFL. I can't afford to sidetrack this, but I promise you that I thought that as well. We got another comment. Sports, betting, wrestling, and Seinfeld. This is the perfect show. I'm biased, but I agree. And our buddy Kevin Hilmers, big time real one on You Better You Bet. As a Bears fan, he knows the real reason Bears Packers is on Amazon Prime, so Al Michaels can show the double doink highlight again. Thank you to Kevin Hilmers. Thanks to everyone chiming in. YouTube.com/@thekostos. And just to do this news on the show, Richard Deitch, who's been a longtime sports media critic and sports media reporter, he's now working for Sports Business Journal. Congratulations to Richard. And he broke his first story today for SBJ, that Al Michaels will be returning to Amazon next year to call Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. This will be Al Michaels, age 82, now calling these games. And I want to be really thoughtful with how I say this. And you know what I'm going to say, you, the listener, you, the viewer. I have, and there's going to be about 2 seconds of dead air here. So no one get alarmed. I'm getting something behind me. So this will be 2 seconds of dead air very briefly. Okay. So there, the dead air is over. So I have here on the set behind me, and if you're watching the show on YouTube or Twitch, or if anyone watching on Nesson in New England, I love you. Thank you very much. On my backdrop, I have here, this is, if you can see, this is Super Bowl 25 on VHS. This is Giants-Bills, January 27th, 1991. This has been in my family literally since the game was played. Giants 20, Bills 19, Scott Norwood, wide right. Al Michaels did play-by-play for this game with Frank Gifford and Dan Dierdorf. It's now 2026, and Al is still doing NFL games. I am not an ageist. I pray that I reach the age of 82 and older. So I'm not saying that just because you're advanced in age, you can't do a job anymore, because I wouldn't want someone to say that about me when I reach that age, right? I'm being honest with everybody, right? Al can be a living legend and be one of the greatest of all time. And I think we can still acknowledge that he's lost his fastball a little bit, right? That's not mean to say, right? It isn't. It's just a statement of fact. Now, I'm not necessarily looking to kick Al out. That's not what I'm looking to do. And he's certainly earned the opportunity to do the job for as long as he wants, and as long as Amazon wants to pay him. No question. I'd do it if I were him. I get it. I do think that we're probably nearing the end of the Al Michaels experience, doing games. This is what I would say to everybody. And this is what I'm going to do, right? As a lifelong sports fan, like I'm sure you are, and I'm sure the people are your friends, like my friends are. Maybe this is going to be Al's last year in 2026. And to be fair, I don't know that that's true. But if it is, let's enjoy it. An absolute legend, a titan in the industry. Let's enjoy it if this is going to be it for Al Michaels. Because we can all, myself included, whine and bitch and moan and complain about everything. I'm just telling you right now, for me, and I'm going to try not to go back on my word here when football season starts in September. We're doing the show here on Westwood One Sports. I'm going to enjoy it because I don't know how many more of these we've got left. So I'm looking forward to it coming up tomorrow. Maybe the Bears fans aren't. Maybe they'll show the double doink. We shall see. Kevin Hilmers, and to all the listeners and viewers, I'm looking forward to Al on the call tomorrow night on Amazon Prime. You better you bet here on this Friday. Nick Kostos here with you on all socials at the Kostos. New YouTube page, youtube.com/@the-Kostos. Just to bring back what we started the show with, Miami beats Ole Miss last night in an absolute thriller, 31-27, on a Carson Beck touchdown run with 18 seconds to go. And to me, the best story coming out of this game is that Miami, who, when I'm growing up, and maybe when you're growing up, you the listener, you the viewer, are the bad guys. But the lovable bad guys. Like the heel in pro wrestling who is supposed to be a bad guy, but is really cool, and you can't help cheering for him or her. That's what Miami's been for a long time. And they were the bully on the block for a really long time. And it's just surreal. And I'll say it's cool, and maybe you disagree with that. Maybe you think, well, Miami should never be the underdog. And that's a fair opinion for you to have. This stuff is subjective, right? I think it's cool. I think it's awesome that we are now in a spot where Miami is the lovable underdog. And Miami's head coach is the lovable underdog. And Miami's quarterback, Carson Beck, who was once a heel with Georgia, and I didn't really like him. I don't know him personally, so I'm not saying I dislike him personally, but I didn't really like his whole deal. Social media quarterback, influencer girlfriend, Lamborghini. You can do all that if you win. He didn't win with Georgia. And I'm not trying to be unfair. I think all of that's fair, right? And then you get the feature pregame yesterday of Beck and his injury, right? In the SEC championship game last year for the Georgia Bulldogs. And he can't play in the college football playoff. And the dark place he found himself in when he ends up leaving to go to Miami. Yes, he got paid well by Miami, but still, he's not in a great place. And you see the emotion that he feels last night when he wins the game, and he's on one knee, and he can't even bear to watch the final Trinidad Chambliss heave into the end zone. Or Carson Beck has turned face, like Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13, like Macho Man Randy Savage after losing the career-ending match to Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 7. A surprise babyface turn, and I love to see it. You don't have to. And that's what makes it a great story. It probably inspires a big reaction one way or another. I absolutely loved it. Miami will play for a national championship next Monday night in its own stadium. Pro Sports bettor Rob Bazzola will join us in about 15 minutes from right now. Very much look forward to getting all of Rob's bets for Wild Card Weekend in the NFL. But before we get to that, I want to give you all of my bets for Wild Card Weekend in the NFL. So Kenny, please drop the Mario music. Yes. Do you love it? Are you ready for bets? We're almost to the best part of the song. We begin our Wild Card Weekend betting sojourn in Carolina. But before that, I need to say this. If you're wondering, hey, Prop King, where are the props? I'm on tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern nationally, and it'll get replayed on Odyssey stations throughout the day and on Cumulus and Westwood One stations throughout the day. So I will give you all my props for Saturday's games tomorrow morning, and you can find it in podcast form. Just search You Bet. And the same on Sunday, where I'm on WFAN, locally in the New York area, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern, and then the national edition of Countdown to Kickoff, Sunday morning, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, taking you up to the first game, the Bills and the Jaguars from Jacksonville. So no props here. You will get the props tomorrow morning for the 2 games on Saturday, Sunday morning for the 3 games on Sunday. All side and total markets, courtesy of our show sponsor, BetMGM. Rams, 10.5-point road favorites at Carolina. Total of the game is 46. Now, Carolina beat the Rams back on November 30th, 31-28. But in that win, the Panthers win the turnover battle, 3-0. Carolina goes 7 of 15 on third down. Close to 50%. You don't need a math degree to figure that one out. And if you can't figure that out, you may need to go back to school. 3 for 3 on fourth down. That is everything going right for the Panthers. Everything goes wrong for the LA Rams. Wrong. Shout out to the McLaughlin group. And the Panthers only win by 3. Now maybe everything goes wrong again for the Rams. And if that happens, they could lose. Do you think that's happening? Would you bet on it? I wouldn't. Now, we had our friend John Jastrzemski on earlier from The Ringer, who fronts The Ringer sports betting coverage, and he said something that I really agree with. He doesn't think Carolina can win the game. I agree. I would never bet Carolina. Now, I don't really want to bet the Rams either at this number, at 10.5. Maybe Carolina backdoors the game. So what I want to do, put the Rams as a money line parlay piece. Like that Rams money line is part of a parlay. I've got other bets I like on Wild Card weekends. I've got NBA games I like for tonight. I'll give you my Indiana-Oregon thought coming up in a little bit as well. We move on to the Packers and the Bears. Amazon Prime tomorrow night. We're basically pick the winner of the game here at BetMGM. Green Bay's a 1-point favorite. The total is down to 44.5. Now, I am not a weatherman, but I'm able to Google things like Chicago weather tomorrow, which you can do as well. There is a chance of snow in the forecast. It'll be freezing temperatures and maybe low 30s, high 20s. The wind is fluctuating, and the total's getting bet down, which tells you that there is some pessimism that the weather will be good, that the wind will be what it needs to be. And just to say this and I used to say this on the old show all the time also. And I think it's a common misnomer when people think about totals, right, and scoring in the NFL. It's never snow, unless we're talking biblical proportions. It's never snow that screws up an offense. Snow actually helps the offense. It's where the term snover came from. I think our buddy Stuckey from the Action Network coined that. Because the offensive players know where they're going before the play is called. Defensive players don't. So defensive players can slip potentially, right? Not that offensive players can't, but you understand what I'm saying. It's wind that messes up passing games and turns games into rock fights. The wind at this moment right now does not feel like it's going to be bad enough to screw up passing games. But if it is, and we won't know until tomorrow, I think the Bears are going to win. Because the Bears will be able to lean on Green Bay with their run game, and I like the Bears' offensive line better than Green Bay's. But if it's not, and the wind's okay, 18 miles an hour, fine. Jordan Love can sling it. So can Caleb, obviously. I love the Packers. I think Green Bay's better than Chicago. And I loved the Bears all season, and you know that if you were watching and listening all season. I don't think they're that good. And I'm not trying to be a hater when I say that. I think they're a year early. And they're going to be a legit Super Bowl contender next year. This calendar year, 2026. I don't think they're ready for prime time. What Disney movie is it when they go, but not yet? The Lion King, right? I just can't wait to be king. Anyway. Bears ready for prime time next year, not this year. If the wind's not bad, give me the Green Bay Packers. That'll be my bet tomorrow night. We move to Sunday. Pick the winner of the game. Bills and the Jaguars in Duval, 51.5 the total. Talked about this yesterday. Josh Allen needs to be the star of the movie that is the AFC postseason. He is Keanu Reeves in John Wick. He's Sylvester Stallone in Rambo. He's Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Terminator. He's the star of the action movie. He's Matt Damon in the Bourne, whatever the hell it is. Any of these, whatever action movie you want to throw out there. He is the star. If you went to see a movie and the star, I'm not talking like Drew Barrymore in Scream, which is one of the great freakouts or twists in cinematic history. You go to see a movie because you want to watch the actor. You go to see Mission Impossible because Tom Cruise is Ethan Hunt. He's the star, right? How would you feel if Ethan Hunt died 20 minutes into the Mission Impossible movie and he's not there anymore? That's what it would be like if the Bills lose this game. Now, real life is not the movies. The Bills can lose on Sunday. It's a pick the winner of the game. But if that happens, you have to fire the director. You have to fire the head coach. If the Bills lose, Sean McDermott's got to go. To be clear, I think Buffalo's going to win the game. And I'm surprised by the betting move. I thought the Bills would get bet out close to 3. Maybe that'll still happen. I haven't bet the Bills yet. I think I will. I'll talk about it this weekend. I do think Buffalo will win. Eagles and the Niners in Philadelphia. Philly is almost a 5.5-point favorite now at BetMGM. So the Eagles keep getting bet. Total is 44.5. We'll see about Trent Williams' status, Ricky Pearsall status. I love the Eagles as a money line parlay piece, just like I like the Rams as a money line parlay piece. I think the Eagles and the Rams not just are the two best teams in the NFC. I think they're the two best teams in the NFL. And one of those two teams, Eagles or Rams, I'll take Philly. One of those teams will win the Super Bowl. Are the Eagles going to cover? If I had to bet the game, I would say yes. But I like Eagles as a money line parlay piece. And then Sunday night on NBC, Tirico and Collinsworth, two of the GOATs. The Patriots, Drake May. We love the Drake. A lot of Seinfeld references today. Good. The Patriots, 3.5-point favorites over Justin Herbert and the Bolts. Total is 46. And I love the Chargers. And I love Drake May. Maybe Justin Herbert and company will be Kendrick Lamar. And take down Drake. Patriots don't have a pass rush. Chargers' offensive line may not be under as much duress as they would have been against another team. I think Justin Herbert will slice and dice this Patriots defense. Give me the Chargers plus 3.5, and I'll have a bet on the Chargers to win the game as well. And we'll wrap here. Rob Pizzola will join us next with Indiana and Oregon tonight in the Peach Bowl. We can bring the music down, Kenny. Winner of this game tonight, I think will win the national championship. I'm not trying to bury Miami. Miami's an awesome story. I've talked about it a lot today on the show. Honestly, like, if I didn't have any money down on anything, I'd be rooting really hard for Miami. Being honest with everybody, right? Even against Kurt Cignetti in Indiana. But I have to give you what I actually think is going to happen. My honest opinion. I think winner of this game wins the Natty. Either Indiana, or we get the Cristobal with Mario Cristobal against his former team, or again with his current team, Miami. I think Indiana will play its game. Indiana has been consistent all season long. You're going to get what you get from Indiana. If Oregon plays like it did when these two teams played in October, Indiana's going to win by 17. Oregon knows, we played you the sound earlier this week, Oregon knows that it wasn't properly focused going into that game. You're going to get a better Oregon effort tonight. And I think, my opinion, I can't prove this, my opinion, is that Oregon rope-a-doped last week against Texas Tech. Didn't have to put pedal to metal because I think Oregon knew they were going to win that game comfortably because Texas Tech, the Big 12, stink, as it turns out. I think you get a good Dante Moore game tonight as the presumptive number 1 and number 2 NFL draft picks at quarterback go head-to-head. You don't think Dante Moore wants to put on a show? Mendoza does too. I'm not saying otherwise. My most likely outcome, Indiana by 3. Point spread's 3.5. Quack, quack, MFers. Give me the Ducks to cover. My bets for tonight in the NBA coming up at the end of the show. On the other side, our good friend, pro sports bettor Rob Pizzola will join. And if you're a new listener and viewer to You Better You Bet, and you're like, oh, got pro bettor coming on the show, trust me, this will be worth your time. Pro sports bettor Rob Pizzola joins us next to talk Wild Card Weekend on Westwood One Sports.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports.
It's got to be Justin Jefferson. You know, honestly, there were a lot of people out there that thought that. got to be.
Looking downfield, launching downfield, going for it all! It is caught! Bears win! DJ Moore!
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos and the crew. Presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
That is one of the iconic moments of the NFL season. And I said this at the start of the show. We're talking about Ole Miss Miami last night. We have been, sincerely, as sports fans and sports bettors, have been blessed as of late. Now, not every primetime game has been an absolute banger, but like Bears-Packers on that Saturday night game was sick in Soldier Field with the winner from Caleb Williams to DJ Moore in overtime. The Sugar Bowl last week, Ravens-Steelers on Sunday night. Last night with Ole Miss Miami, it has been so good. And we, dear listener and dear viewer, we collectively stand on the precipice of an incredible football weekend. Indiana, Oregon tonight in the college football playoff semis in the Peach Bowl. Winner plays Miami next Monday in the Natty. 5 NFL playoff games, 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. And then, of course, Monday Night Football with the Texans and the Steelers. What a time to be alive. And joining us right now to help us break it down. And I said this going to break. Now, a lot of our listeners and viewers are very happy that this gentleman will be joining us on the show. He's been coming on You Better You Bet since 2019. Professional sports bettor Rob Pizzola, who is the founder of the Hammer Betting Network, which features our friend Joey Knish. He's the host of Forward Progress, which is a NFL betting show, which I would encourage everybody to check out. Find it on YouTube or in podcast form. Circles off as well on Twitter at Rob Pizzola. So Rob is a professional sports bettor. Rob is also a gigantic sports fan and is very entertaining. So if you've never heard Rob or watched Rob before, I think you will be in for a treat in the same way you were with our friend Joey Knish. My friend, welcome back to the show. Happy NFL playoffs.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you for the kind intro. I don't quite bring the same amount of energy as Joey Knish. That's more like a Michael Irvin type of energy. That's not me necessarily, but I do try to keep it entertaining and informative, so do appreciate that intro.
Tony Montana type of energy is, I think, what we're talking about with our friend Joey Knish. Before we get to the games, I want to preface this by saying I know that our longtime audience knows this, and I did just say it just now, but just to really pound the point home. In addition to someone who makes a living betting on sports, Rob is a ginormous NFL fan, like a Dallas Cowboys fan, but loves the National Football League. Just curious, what did you think of the Ravens firing John Harbaugh, and where do you think John Harbaugh ultimately ends up in 2026?
So I was not surprised, and I feel like it was the right time for the Ravens to fire Harbaugh. I think he's like a surefire Hall of Famer, going to go down as one of the best coaches of my lifetime. But sometimes over a long period of time, you just sort of lose your edge. It happens to bettors in betting. It happens across every field. And Harbaugh was at the precipice 10 years ago of the analytics movement and being out ahead of all these other teams. And slowly the rest of the league is caught up. And I personally love Harbaugh. I just don't think he's anything special anymore. I think if you were a team that was looking to rebuild your culture from the ground up, you might be looking at someone like that. Jets would be a perfect example of a team that could use someone like a Harbaugh. But I don't think he's necessarily like the X's and O's guys that's gonna take you over the top anymore. So in terms of where he's gonna end up, Nick, that's a really good question. I know some people are tying him to Miami because the weather's good, and I don't know why anyone would want to coach Miami right now. It seems like the least lucrative job on the entire market. I think ultimately he gets to pick. Really, he's gonna be that highly sought of a candidate. But I think your Giants are gonna actually be the team that I think he ends up with, Nick.
Am I crazy in your estimation? A lot of people think I'm crazy. I put some videos up on Twitter and Instagram at the Kostos, TheKostos. Follow me there. Rob on Twitter at Rob, and on Instagram, I believe, at Rob Pizzola. I prefer Kevin Stefanski, and I wouldn't dislike the John Harbaugh hire for my team. We've been so bad for so long, tough to say I wouldn't want John Harbaugh. I prefer Kevin Stefanski. I'm guessing based on that answer you just gave that you would prefer Stefanski if forced to choose. Am I right about that?
I would. There's a wide range on Stefanski of what people think about him around the league. Some people think he's incredibly overrated. I don't. I'm not one of those. I think he's a really smart offensive mind. If I had to choose my coach on the market right now, I would be picking Stefanski. I think he's the best available candidate that's out there. So I slightly prefer him. I think he still has a larger grasp on modern day NFL than John Harbaugh does.
All right, so we're going to get to the games now on Wild Card weekends. And look, not every bet that I give out is going to win. I lost last night with Ole Miss. Wish they had not gotten the 2-point conversion. Story for another time. Not every bet Rob gives out is going to win, but Rob has a lot of gravitas behind him with the way he thinks about games and handicaps games. So let's get to it, my friend. We'll go in chronological order. The Rams, 10.5-point road favorites at Carolina. Total of the game, 46. So would love your opinion on the game and also how you view the Rams heading into this postseason.
All right. For the game, of all the games this weekend, this is one where I have the least of an opinion. Coming into the week before the lines came out, I was hoping that we would get a deflated Rams price in some capacity, but we didn't get that. And now the weather is a real concern for tomorrow. And the thing, like, the Rams are an elite unit, but they're elite in like a precision-based way. Especially with Kevin Dotson out on the offensive line, they're not going to be the team that's like a pure ground and pound. They win with timing. They win with spacing. They have layered route concepts off of play action. So when you have wind and rain in Carolina, that reduces, like, that flattens the passing tree for them. It forces longer and messier drives. And we saw that play out for them last time they were in Carolina. It rained pretty heavily on some of those out routes. They were very dangerous throws. Matt Stafford threw a pick six. He threw another pick in the red zone. I will say, Davante Adams being back is big for them. He's not just another receiver. He's a problem solver on third down. He's a problem solver in the red zone. When structure breaks down, he's a guy that can still win. On the Carolina side, they're not a good football team, but they've shown in this matchup that they can dictate, I'll call it like the texture of the game. They can really, really slow it down. Slow tempo, run heavy, fewer possessions. It's like how teams used to play the Golden State Warriors, Nick, in their prime. Like, you don't want to come out and run and gun with them. You want to slow the game down as much as possible. That's what Carolina's going to do, and that's why I don't have a lot of interest in laying it with the Rams in this game. Ultimately, yeah, nothing to do here, in my opinion. I think the market is fine. In terms of the Rams in the playoffs, I mean, they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. They would love to not have to get the Eagles in round two, in my opinion, but I mean, there's three teams that are miles above everyone else in the NFC. It's Seahawks, the Rams, and the Eagles. I'd be surprised if another team ends up making the Super Bowl out of the NFC, but I'm not counting them out because of the way that they finished the season. Like, this is still a very, very good roster.
And Davante Adams going to be back, obviously, makes a big difference. I like the Eagles, the best of those teams, but I think you can make the case for I like the Rams more than the Seahawks. I'll make Sam Darnold prove it to me, and maybe he will. Yeah. Saturday night, potential wind in the forecast and snow, total on the way down. Pick the winner of the game, Rob, with the Packers and the Bears in Chicago. Total right now at BetMGM, 44.5. How are you betting this one?
All right, picking the winner of the game, I think the Packers will likely win a close game. If you look at the two games so far this year, I think the Bears got pretty lucky in that second matchup. They recovered an onside kick to win it. I think the Packers are maybe just slightly better overall, but as the point spread suggests, it's kind of a coin flip. I don't have a strong opinion there. In normal conditions, Nick, I would really love the over in this game. Now, obviously, in normal conditions, the total wouldn't be 44.5. This opened 46.5. It would be something in that range, but I still would have loved the over at that spot. Both of these offenses are their best off of play action. Both quarterbacks are comfortable pushing the ball outside the numbers. Both defenses have been very vulnerable to explosive plays when they have to defend vertically. So all those things would lead to an over, but obviously wind complicates that. Now, Caleb Williams has a good arm. He can throw downfield in the wind, but his accuracy, if you look at win games for Chicago this year, his accuracy takes a big dip because, listen, it's just not easy to throw downfield in the wind. But you look at the defenses, Chicago's defense is extremely turnover driven. If you strip out their turnovers, this is not a unit that consistently gets stops. Green Bay's defense, Micah Parsons, Devontae Wyatt down on the defensive line. They had to put two corners on IR last week as well. I think all the attrition, like the injury attrition in this game, has come on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think there's a rush to bet anything right now. What tends to happen in these win games or weather games, especially as we get closer to kickoff and the limits go higher, is more money will probably come in on the under. I'm going to probably just wait till the absolute last minute, fire a small bet on the over in this game because I just can't ignore the stylistic matchup here, which I think sets up for offense.
Yeah, and I think the number that Rob will be waiting for, and I don't want to speak for you here, so if I'm out of turn, just interrupt me, would be 44 or below for the over in this game with the Packers and the Bears. All right, you bet on this Friday. Pro Sports bettor Rob Pizzola is our guest. Forward Progress is his show, YouTube and podcast form. Search Forward Progress and you will get it on social media at Rob Pizzola. Bills and the Jaguars in Duval. I'm surprised, buddy, by the betting market in this game. I thought for sure the Bills would get bet out, and maybe they will as we approach kickoff on Sunday. It feels like the Jaguars have been the preferred betting side. We're basically at a pick 'em here in this game. Total 51.5. How do you see it with the Bills and the Jags?
Never say never in terms of the Bills being bet out, because it seems to happen every Sunday in the NFL. They take game day money regularly. There's been a few teams this year or down the stretch that regularly take game day money. We'll see if that happens this week. I think there's two ways you can play it. So we're going to get final injury reports for this game today. Left tackle Cole Van Lanen for Jacksonville has not practiced yet this week. He left last week's game. A very underrated left tackle. The Jags have not dealt with offensive line issues for much of the year. The right tackle, Anton Harrison, was out for a little bit. It's pretty simple for me. If he's in, I like Jacksonville in this game at the current price. If he's out, I'd rather play the under. From a matchup standpoint, Buffalo is a run funnel, right? They're comfortable letting teams throw. They've been vulnerable on the ground all season. And Jacksonville, they become one of the most pass-heavy teams in football. So if they stick with their current identity, they're basically attacking Buffalo where they're the strongest on defense. If Jacksonville can run the ball, that completely changes the game. But if the offensive line is compromised, especially at left tackle, that becomes harder to pull off. On the other side, Buffalo's offense is slower and way more methodical than people think. Like, people think of the Bills as this high-flying, scoring offense. It's all built off of reputation in the past. They are run first. They are content to bleed clock. They're not built for shootouts. They don't throw the ball downfield a whole lot, even though Brandon Cooks has been getting a couple downfield targets a game now. Jacksonville's defense also matches up well against what the Buffalo Bills want to do. So, personally, it's hard to read Jacksonville because down the stretch, outside of that game at Denver, they really played nobody, and this is not a nobody. But I'm believing in what the Jacksonville Jaguars are doing on offense, and ultimately, I just feel like the Bills have been overvalued in market all year long. So I'm going to either be looking to play Jacksonville. Hopefully, that's the one I'm looking for, fingers crossed, or looking to the under in this game because Buffalo just plays too slow for a total like this against a defense of the quality of Jacksonville.
10 seconds for this one. Do you agree with me that if the Bills lose this game, they need to fire Sean McDermott?
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. He shouldn't make it to Monday if they lose this game.
I kind of think John Harbaugh should be their next head coach, like before the plane lands in Western New York if they lose this game to the Jaguars. All right, sandwich game on Sunday. Eagles, my Super Bowl winner, a 5-point home favorite against the walking wounded San Francisco 49ers, 44.5. Anything in this one?
Yeah, so I really, listen, the Eagles have taken a bunch of money this week, right? I'm not a big fan of coming on and being like, well, the line was 3 at one point, 3.5. Now we're up to 5. My fair value in this game is 6 right now. So directionally, I like the Eagles. Whether that means you go and bet them right now, maybe you don't need to because there potentially could be some sort of buyback on the 49ers here this week. But the key is how these teams match up, right? Like San Fran's not a nobody team. Brock Purdy's been excellent, but his efficiency is very dependent on staying on schedule. When pressure gets there early or his first read is disrupted, his success rate drops off very sharply. And Philadelphia is built to do exactly that, especially coming off of what essentially was a bye week for them, where they were able to rest everyone that was going in with a significant injury. They now get Jalen Phillips back healthy, Jalen Carter back healthy on the defensive line. They can generate pressure without blitzing. They can collapse the pocket. And if Trent Williams is out, or even if he's limited for this game, and he could very much be limited with that hamstring injury, it's going to be a real problem. Then you flip it around. It's a very favorable matchup for the Eagles offense. I don't like Philly's offense. I don't think they're just going to figure it out in the playoffs, but the 49ers don't generate pressure. And when Jalen Hurts is kept clean, they're one of the most efficient offenses in the league. Plus, on top of that, they're just running out of linebackers. The 49ers have no linebackers. I mean, the Eagles can run the ball. I know they haven't done it super effectively this year, but they can dictate tempo. They can avoid mistakes in this game. Like I said, they pretty much got a bye week last week as well, where no one of importance played. So even at this price, I think the Eagles are the right side. I would just say maybe you wait and see. If Trent Williams practices again today, there could be a tick towards San Francisco. I'm not sure if there will be, but I make the game Eagles 6, and they're my favorite position of the week.
I need them to win to cash some Super Bowl bets that I have placed. Last one, Sunday Night Football, Patriots and the Chargers. New England, a 3.5-point home favorite, total 46. I love the Chargers to cover. What say you, Rob Pizzola, Chargers and Patriots?
My fair value on this game is Patriots minus 3.5. So I know I don't really have a side opinion. I'm not going to force one on this game. I think there's such a wide range on what the Patriots could be. I mean, it's Friday night. If you're going to go to the movies with your significant other, see a comedy or something like that, you can stay home, save the money. You want comedy, just look at the quarterbacks that the Pats have played this year, because it's been an absolute joke, the teams that they've played. But ultimately, it's not like they've scraped by against these bad teams, Nick, right? Like they're murdering a lot of these bad teams. Directionally, I like the over in this game. I think New England's defense looks good statistically, but it's extremely schedule driven. They faced one of the easiest slates of opposing offenses in the history of the league. And when they step up in class, like against Buffalo, their efficiencies dropped off. The Chargers offense is deeper and more versatile than anything they've seen the entire season. On the other side, some people might say, well, the Chargers, they play these two high shells. Yeah, they do. They're pretty good at preventing explosive passes. That doesn't kill scoring. It just forces longer drives. And long drives are fine if the other team can stay efficient. Drake May is very comfortable taking underneath throws. He's very comfortable against these types of defensive structures that the Chargers just allow things underneath. So ultimately, I don't see an edge on the side. I think this is a great game to play alternate spreads. Honestly, Patriots could win this game by margin. Chargers could win this game by margin. None of that would surprise me. But I think that both of these it's Herbert, it's May, no weather issues, total in the mid 40s. I like the over in this game.
Love it. And let's close with this. 15 seconds for the answer. Super Bowl 60 will be blank versus blank, and who wins? Pencil, not pen, for the answer.
It will be Rams, Jags, and the Rams win.
So like the London game that the Rams won 1,000,000-0, one of the worst games of the season.
That is just a pure guess. From a future standpoint, I think the Eagles and Broncos are the best prices you can take in market right now. But I think Rams Jags is just my fandom Super Bowl pick.
Love it. Rob is on Twitter at Rob Pizzola. Forward Progress is the NFL betting show. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it in podcast form. Just search Forward Progress. It is sensational. I watch it every week. Rob and his crew are great. The Hammer is the sports betting network. And for people really into sports betting, check out Circles Off as well. My friend, best of luck this weekend. Thank you very much for coming on the new show.
Thanks, Nick. Good luck this week as well.
Rob Pizzola joining us here on You Better You Bet. We'll take a quick break. And on the other side, all my NBA bets for tonight as we send you into the weekend. And Black and Abdallah coming up next on Westwood One Sports here on You Better You Bet.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
All right, thanks to our three tremendous guests on today's Phenomenal Football Friday edition of You Better You Bet. Former NFL GM Tom Telesco, Sirius XM NFL Radio, John Jastrzemski of The Ringer, and pro sports bettor Rob Pizzola. Our executive producer is Bill Zimmerman, our technical director Tyler Morales, our engineer Ken Sanity, Kenny Henderson, and our video producers, the tag team of Dan the Man Turner and God's Perfect Creation, Downtown Mike Brown. Thank you to everyone on YouTube for chiming in today, youtube.com/@thekostos. That will be the sole place to stream the show on YouTube starting on Monday. So like and subscribe there, youtube.com/@thekostos. Black and Abdallah, our friends, are coming up next here on Westwood One Sports. But for right now, bets for tonight in basketball. Kenny Henderson, please drop the dope-ass beat. The college football playoff semifinals are here, and whether you're riding an upset or hoping the favorite dominates, betting with a boost makes every playoff moment even more memorable. Activate today's Odds Boost token on any college football playoff game, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Download the BetMGM app, visit BetMGM.com so you can make it legendary. And always gamble responsibly. I promise I will get to more YouTube comments next week on the show. The bad job by me. Thank you to everyone for commenting today in the YouTube chat. All right, give you some NBA bets for tonight. I'm just going to see where things are at right now because we got hours before the game starts. All right, bet numero uno. The Celtics are getting bet out against the Toronto Raptors. I like the Raptors. As long as RJ Barrett's going to play in the game, the Raptors have been a different team with Barrett in the starting lineup. Now, Scotty Barnes is doubtful and Brandon Ingram is questionable. So if the Raptors are at full health, give me the Toronto Raptors. Give me the Washington Wizards. +3 against the New Orleans Pelicans when it gets there with the Wizards off their trade. The Oklahoma City are sitting all their players down tonight, including SGA. They're getting bet out right now. I agree with that. Thunder -5 on the road at the Memphis Grizzlies. And bet the Portland Trailblazers the other night against the Rockets. They're playing again tonight in Portland. I will bet the Rockets tonight, laying the 6.5 after betting Portland the other night. So those are my bets for tonight in the NBA. Oregon +3.5 tonight. And we'll give you all the props for Wild Card Weekend tomorrow, Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern, the national edition of Countdown to Kickoff. Black and Abdallah coming up next here on Westwood One Sports. So until we meet again, dear listener and dear viewer, Saturday morning, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., and I'll see you on Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern. I'm Nick Kostos wishing you minimal sweats, winning bets, and the absolute very best of luck.
That was You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.